Cool. We'll call this meeting of the Berlin-Boylston Regional School Committee to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. First item on the agenda tonight, the recognition of for the lacrosse game came up that she's going to, so we'll reschedule. So it's an away game, so she couldn't be here. Next up, Al, do you have an introduction?
I do, so thank you. So a couple things, just an update on the Berlin Memorial Principal update and search. So the hiring committee narrowed the process down to 2 candidates. On Thursday, March 26th, Dr. Conway and myself interviewed both of those candidates. And on Friday, March 27th, I offered the principalship. I offered the principalship to Christopher Cherzigny. And Christopher is signed his contract, and we welcome him. Let me give you a little background. Chris is currently an assistant principal in Medway, and he also was a principal at Beacon Charter School in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. He has a background of experience also as an instructional technology coordinator and also as a classroom teacher as well too. So we're really happy and welcoming Christopher Cherzigny to the community of Berlin-Boylston as new principal of Berlin Law School. Anything you want to say?
Just very excited to be here. I've got a great team I've met with already, and John and I have started working together, and we're going to continue to work together to make sure you have a smooth transition. So thank you guys. I appreciate everybody's time, and really I'm looking forward to this. So thank you.
So we're really glad you're here. Thank you. I know that we've already started working out that transition plan, which is so important for both John and yourself. I know the staff is excited and the students as well too. I know there's some events coming up that we're going through John to invite you to as well too. So welcome. And here's a little welcoming gift. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thanks, Al. Okay, Al, who's introducing the speech and debate club?
Sure, Mr. Cameron, do you want to do some?
Yeah, we have 2 clubs coming here to propose for some new clubs that we're going to be offering. It looks like on the order here on the docket, we have speech and debate coming in. So Ms. Fowler and Olivia want to come on down front.
All right, hello everybody. Today we are proposing the creation of a speech and debate club at our school. As students who are interested in public speaking and debate, we have found that there aren't many opportunities here at Tohoto to support our interest, and we would like to add a few more to this list.
Critical thinking and public speaking skills are necessary for every student's future. The skills that students will develop in speech and debate clubs strengthen students' ability to communicate clearly and persuasively, which is an essential skill across nearly every academic discipline and career field. Additionally, debate encourages students to engage with important societal issues and to discuss them thoughtfully and respectfully, fostering civic awareness and prepares students to participate in meaningful academic public conversations. Not only does it empower our students, but it also provides an equal benefit for the school itself. Entering the world of speech and debate will expand our school's horizons and improve our academic credibility among other local schools.
We ask for relatively few financial resources. The primary expenses are membership in debate organizations and tournament entry fees. Entry fees can be paid individual, so the people that want to enter tournaments can pay for themselves, but it would be great if we could have some funding for entering debate organizations. There are 2 organizations we are interested in. The first one is the Massachusetts Speech and Debate League, which allows schools to participate in regional and state competitions. The first year would actually be free, but every year after would be $50. And once our team develops, so that would be after a couple years, we can enroll in the National Speech and Debate Association, which provides additional opportunities for recognition in national events, which would cost $149 annually, but once again, we wouldn't be joining this the first year.
We both as students are incredibly passionate about the art of argumentation and public speaking, and we are sure that if given the opportunity, we could help so many other students see the appeal in what debate entails.
28 students are currently enrolled in our Google Classroom, and once it's official, we can reach out to more and gain more members, so there's plenty of interest. And we also have an advisor lined up if we are approved to begin.
We'd just like to end by saying thank you for your time, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Is this a vote, we're voting to approve this, or is this working?
Yeah?
Yes.
All right. Could I have a motion, please, to approve the Tohoto Speech and Debate Club? Jess?
Second.
Lisa, I heard first. All right, anyone have any questions?
Great job, ladies. It was great speaking. You have a nice presentation with the slides and everything. That was a great job.
Public speaking is so important, right? Even more so now, you know, everything with technology in terms of being able to have face-to-face conversations and interviews now is extremely important. So we're thrilled that you're doing that. And even being able to debate in a respectful manner and have difference of agreements, but still do it respectfully. Learning to do that is an incredible thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Good. Wait 1 second while they vote. You want to stay right there until they vote? Put a little pressure on them while they vote. We're looking right at you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? All right, I'm in favor as well. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Up next, we have one more club for a Tohoto food pantry. We have Mike Shays Green and Sophia Eaton here to present.
We have a third person in our group also, Bailey McNamara, but she's not. She'll come any minute. But we can do it without her. Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak today about something that matters deeply to us, the idea of opening a food pantry right here at Tohoto. For many people, school is a place of learning, growth, and opportunity. But for some students, it can also be a place where they carry a quiet burden that others don't see, the uncertainty of where their next meal will come from. Hunger doesn't always look the way we expect it. It can affect classmates sitting next to us, friends we laugh with, or teammates that we practice with every day. We believe that no student should have to focus on an empty stomach instead of their education.
That's why we feel so strongly about starting a food pantry in our school. This isn't just providing food, it's about creating a support system. It's about making sure our students feel supported. A school pantry would offer students and families a reliable, private, and judgment-free way to access the essentials they need. Imagine a space where students can discreetly pick up groceries after school. Imagine the relief for families who are struggling but don't always have access to transportation or local resources. Imagine the message it sends that at Tohoto we take care of our own. And the best part, this is something we can realistically accomplish this year.
With support from administration, staff, and students, we can organize food drives, partner with local organizations, and create a sustainable system run by this club. Even small contributions, 1 can of food, 1 hour of time, can add up to something truly meaningful. This initiative would not only address a real need, but also bring our school community closer together. It gives students a chance to lead, to serve, and to make a direct impact on the lives of others. We are not just asking for approval, we are asking for belief. Belief that this school can be more than a place of education. It can be a place of care, empathy, and action. Let's make this happen. Let's make sure every student at Tohoto has the support they need to succeed, not just academically, but in life. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I have a motion, please, to approve the Tohoto Food Pantry Club?
So moved.
Jackie?
Second.
Beth? All right, any questions?
Do you have a space layout?
Yes, we're going to be using the closet right when you walk in, the entrance to your right. We have that laid out.
A lot of people don't know, but there's a door on the side in the, what's it called? The connection area between the going inside and outside.
And people will be able to make donations, right?
Yes.
To be able to provide, right? And we'll get that out to the community. So if you have some canned goods or things you want to do.
Yes, definitely.
Someone said something? Sorry.
No.
All right.
Great job.
Pretty good. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, I'm in favor as well. That motion passes. Thank you.
Glad you're doing this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Al, I think the next item we're going to postpone as well.
Yeah, Matthew's not here tonight, so I'd like to recognize him at the next school committee meeting if we could.
Okay, sure. That brings us to Aaron and our budget updates.
Okay,
All right,
we're going to start, and I'm going to lead you right into you, okay? You good? So, good evening. So at our last school committee meeting on Tuesday, March 10th, we presented the budget at a level service that also included the addition of a grade 5 teacher. That was a new FTE for Boylston Elementary School. We also heard that school committee voted on that addition of the following priority 1 positions. And I know that our admin team, who's been working extremely hard, had quite a few priorities that we wanted. The particular ones were priority 1 that school committee voted on. That was the addition of a biology teacher at Tohoto, a reading specialist at Tohoto, ELA coach for both elementary schools, and the additional full-time nurse that went from a 0.4 to a 1.0. So all those additional priorities were put on that as well too. I also heard very clearly from school committee and the members to say, come back at our next school committee meeting and be prepared to tell us what your cuts in order to make this work, in order to make these additions. Remember, we came to you with a budget that wasn't able to be fulfilled at a level service. We added that 5th grade teacher on there at Boylston Elementary, put that into the budget, and then we also had the addition of those 4 positions. The admin team, Aaron, myself, spent hours, days, weekends going through this budget. We actually even spent Easter evening finally getting some information from Boylston, and we became very skillful and thoughtful about the cuts and decisions that we made. Again, I can't stress enough that we're not in support of any of these reductions. We are not. But our goal was to reach the number that both Berlin and Boylston provided to us for school committee. And just for clarity, we received a number from Berlin that was voted on at the select board meeting on Monday, March 30th. We got that number from Berlin. I appreciate the students in Berlin that when they came to the select board meeting, the way they spoke. And I also appreciate the thoughtful questions that the select board of Berlin asked me about specific positions that were put in place. Last night, April 6th, we attended the FinCom and Select Board meeting in Boylston, where we received a voted upon number that actually changed slightly from this morning. So the number that you heard last night at your Select Board meeting that they voted upon, there was a slight change that took place between last night at 11:35 and this morning, and Aaron will go over that as well too. Literally that change took place, so it's consistently been a moving target for us. The new number this morning was confirmed by both Howard and April, so we have a new number that we're presenting to you in this budget. Again, I can't stress that we are not supporting these budget cuts and reductions, but we're also not wanting to put our school district in a position where we're dealing with a 1/12 budget from the Department of Education. Aaron's going to go through our budget presentation. I want to thank Aaron for the work that he's done, this admin team, that we've put hours in trying to make sure those numbers are meeting what Berlin and Boylston gave us. I also thank those that have attended the meetings along the way. Those were important meetings both in Boylston and Berlin. Those are important things. I wish more people showed up to those meetings because that's really where they needed to hear and see our concerns that we have and what this position was going to put us in by the numbers they were reaching for us. So Aaron will walk you through this budget presentation and we'll be able to answer some questions for you as well too.
Let me start with, Al mentioned there was a small change this morning. In light of the vote last night, and I think some comments about vocational transportation on the Boylston side, I reached out again to our transportation provider. As we know, the numbers for vocational from Boylston have dropped significantly. At this point, there really are very few students going from Boylston to Assabet right now. And that can be accommodated on a van. I wasn't certain what the cost of that was going to be. I left the placeholder in because of even a van can be fairly expensive, but if you can ride share that van, you can reduce that cost. So my call to them this morning led to, what can we get the pencils down to if there's some ride sharing or things like that. So they were able to reduce that cost. I got in touch with Boylston. I guess I want to thank Jess for bringing it up. It dawned on me, like, let's make the call and do it. So I did make the call. So that ended up being about $31,000 of savings. So that salvages a little bit. I think it's really important to be clear that, we've heard it over and over. I've heard it since the day I got here. that Boylston is at their levy limit, right? And that's not going to change without something like a 2.5 override. They've said that very publicly. I'm not like sharing any big secrets, right? So taking those numbers, the work we've done with the admin team, we spent this morning, and that's part of the reason of waiting for final numbers, waiting for answers, is why, you know, maybe you didn't get very specific items in the drive, right? And the hope is that we need to talk to staff, we need to be mindful of not creating havoc until we have that opportunity to talk to those individual staff members on a one-on-one basis. So going in where we are now, from an operating budget standpoint, I think I slipped a slide, but there's just a title slide. We now have an operating budget of $25,696,973. Total change, $1,283,583. You may recall when we started this process, we were over 10%. Someone reminded me of that today as we're meeting. So we have sharpened pencils, we fought and fought. And I want to be really clear, many of the line items that you will see cut, you've seen cut before and you will be seeing cut tonight, represent risks, right? We are taking away any possibility of there being safety nets or, you know, we're hoping we can do this. This is it. There's no anything, right? So as we look at this, to get there are some offsets. I want to be clear, and I owe a small apology for this. I was a little aggressive in terms of having our E&D certified, and I included E&D in our last item. I have spoken with DLS. I've been speaking with our auditor. Something has changed at DLS, and they are asking for a lot more detail on capital accounts, right? And you'll recall we have some of those issues with the debt service portion. So I'm having to, I've met with them the other week, we're going through that, we're walking through it. Technically, I can't put E&D on the table until it's certified. I believe we will have a certified number. We're working towards that, and I will provide a better explanation, ideally at the next meeting. I know we've been like pushing out, you know, at the end of the day, we are blessed to have some money in our school choice account. So I am just for the time being using school choice as a placeholder. So it's going up. I can absolutely assure you, I can share that with anyone who wants to know, that we are putting, based on budget numbers from the state and actuals, that we are putting $200,000 into E&D this year safely. So as we work through that, I would not take money out for operations that we weren't already putting in, because that would be non-sustainable, and I don't want to come to you with an entirely non-sustainable budget. I may be a little aggressive, but I'm not going to be non-sustainable if I can avoid it, okay? So we get into these direct offsets. We also have the IDEA grant. I am hopeful, knock on wood, there are some people who are concerned about cuts to some of the federal grants. That is not using our full grant necessarily to offset. There are some other things that sit off budget. They get funded out of that grant. We can play with those numbers, but that's a pretty big number, and if somehow that's cut at the federal level, there's some risk there. We have some real risk. We do have, sorry, going back, we do have some balance in our circuit breaker account that we could use if we needed, so didn't want me to go back a slide. So then we go back into a lot of the same items from before. The first slide you just saw is budget offsets. Those directly offset the budget. These next category reduce the assessments, and they all do the same thing. They reduce the overall assessments that the town pays. They just sit in a different place in our budget, so I try to recognize them separately. So Chapter 70, Chapter 71, most of this, the items with stars, come from the governor's budget. If we had an updated budget from the House, which is the next round, I would try to incorporate those numbers, but we don't, so we're not able to incorporate those yet. So as we get into this, we've sat down with the budget and we poured over it with administrators. We've tried to listen to as much feedback as possible. Berlin, we really got to the point where the town listened to a lot of what we talked about. The select board supported our original sort of budget with some cuts. We did have to make some cuts to get there. But we're in a place where we're not making tremendous cuts. We are making some of the risk cuts though, right? So you'll see there's some occupational therapy contract services, and that's usually there in case we have extraordinary needs, significant needs outside of our ability. We're really just going to need to try to work within our current OT staffing. And that's just based on some numbers we've seen in the past we had in there, and we've carried that over to support that. I've done some deep dives into a few things. I've worked with Joe. We did renegotiate our Xerox copy, so we took down our copier. And we did agree to take some cuts at the central office. These are net cuts, so the FTE count to Berlin looks small, and it's not an extraordinary cut. We don't have a lot of staff at the central office, but we're looking to cut some finance office, my department, as well as some staffing in Joe's office. There is money that is we had allocated for curriculum review. We will put that aside, and if we can try to find another source for that money, there sometimes are grants. We've also, I reached out to Senator Kennedy, or actually they reached out to us with some potential earmark grant money. We went back to them and said, hey, we'd love some money for curriculum. And they said, well, maybe not right now. So we are working diligently to try to find money, and we will commit to not doing this unless we can find an alternative source. So that comes to a total of $122,000 of savings all around. Then when we get to Boylston had a much tougher number to meet. There were a lot more challenges. This comes from the fact that they are at their levy limit. They cannot tax more without doing a 2.5 override. If we were to put more on the town meeting warrant, they would indicate that it's subject to a 2.5 override. At this point, the likelihood that a 2.5 override is going to go through with no preparation is pretty low. So we have been working to get to their number. As we said, there was a little bit of movement from a few things, but this is really where we are with them. So we're looking at 2 special education paraprofessionals. To be honest, we really reevaluated needs. We looked at what we were holding for potential, and we felt that those cuts were tenable. Then we really get into a lot of the items that say cut per budget. We just had to decide, like, what cuts can we make that won't impact required services. It's shocking how much of our service is required, whether it's due to IEPs or courses or specific curricular needs. So kindergarten paras are not mandated, they're not required. There are 3 at present. We would cut 2 of those and bring that to 1, would be a shared para across the 3 classrooms.
And I was going to jump in on that. So as well, right, our numbers are low in kindergarten at Boylston, which we're mindful of, but we're also looking to do some support from some other paras that might be working at Boylston Elementary. We'll be revisiting that schedule with Janelle and with Rob to give some support to those other kindergarten classrooms as well too.
Yep. We had initially, when we were looking at things, cut both tutors in that school. When we received some money back available from the town, we realized we spoke with Rob and asked him. He spoke with some staff who felt like they really wanted the tutors back to whatever degree possible. So we initially cut the 2 tutors. This brings back 1.8. There's a little bit we're not going to be able to get back, but we think that's potentially sustainable. This would reduce the adjustment counselor to 0.5 right now. I know we've received some feedback on that. It's a challenging decision to make. At the end of the day, when we think of equity, right now Berlin does not have an adjustment counselor at all. They have nothing. So it's not, we don't wish for this. This is what we're looking at, how we keep the pain at least minimized.
And just a little further on that, right? So I know we received some emails that you guys did regarding the adjustment council position. Tough decision for us to make. You know, when we spoke with Rob and bringing back the tutors was his priority for that point. Again, we want them all back, but the tutors were, we know, as giving those students our tier 2, which we need with our MTSS, so that we're keeping them from not going down the pathway if necessary for an IEP or other things that they might need. So we felt, Rob felt, as the principal, the instructional leader, that the priority was to go with the tutors.
Yeah.
Just a little history on the adjustment counselor, and I know, you know, tough, like Aaron said, you know, we don't have an adjustment counselor full-time we don't have any adjustment counselor in Berlin. They have a full-time school psychologist. There is a full-time school psychologist in Boylston as well, too. The history of an adjustment counselor, in 2021, it first came on board in Boylston. 2021 with ESSER money that was used, it wasn't a full-time position. 2022 to 2023, ESSER money again, not a full-time position. 23, 24, it was a 0.6 FTE, so it wasn't a full-time position there as well too. 24, 25 was 0.6 FTE, not a full-time, but partly there. 25, 26 this year, we moved it to a full-time FTE position. That was a change. That's the first time that had that change, making it a full-time position decision I made. But looking at this in 26, 27, we're bringing that back down to a 0.5. So I just want you to know a little bit of history of the adjustment council. Last year was the first year that it was a full-time position.
It was funded with a grant, and it was full-time during ESSER.
That's
Oh,
what ESSER is.
yeah. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I think it may have been ESSER grant funded, yeah. So this would also cut the instrumental teacher that's there. It would stay at Berlin. The 0.4 remaining would stay at Berlin. This is again something, it's an extra. We're not mandated to provide this, so you know, we have to start thinking about where we mandated to cover, what covers our core items, the needs of all students. Instructional technology.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Yep.
The band teacher, so one of the things we'll be looking at in Boylston is that people can still have that opportunity. We'll be looking to see if that's opportunity can happen either before school, after school, where they can take instrument lessons as well too. So we're not taking it away, it's just taken away during the day.
Right.
We'd have to be looking at how that can be provided. Like I
But
said,
there
a
would
lot
be
of
cost
schools.
associated.
They're
Yeah.
not provided, like
Yeah,
out.
it would not be.
That's right, we wouldn't
Self-pay.
provide, people would
Right.
have to pay for it, yes, absolutely.
We
Yep.
can provide the space, but not the.
And a lot of communities do that, right? Before school, after school. We don't pay for it, but people can take those lessons and have those provided through a private fund.
But, so there would be no more band at BES?
That's correct.
So, moving on, instructional technology. This is a lot, most of our money to repair and replace Chromebooks, devices, laptops, projectors, you name it when they're damaged or break. If at some point we run out of devices, we will just not be a one-to-one school. We'll have to figure out how we operate as something other than a one-to-one school. There'll have to be some degree of sharing. There are already conversations about whether elementary students truly need to be one-to-one, particularly at the lower grades. So we thought this is a line, if we have to really start digging for some savings, we can look at this. And we will really try to push the envelope in terms of how long we keep things like Chromebooks on the floor. I know they did extend the licensing a little bit and the lifespan on Chromebooks recently, so there's a little bit of room there, but this does, like I said, this creates risk. All of these things create risk. As does cutting psychological consults and evals. We frequently have to do outside evaluations of students when their parents request them. This doesn't eliminate the budget, but it significantly cuts the budget, and we hope we can work within the number. Again, risk involved. This is something that could be covered. We could come back to school committee and say, We'd like to dig into that circuit breaker reserve a little bit if we had to. So there's some room to be able to maybe leverage that, but with some risk. There are some instructional coaching stipends that have kind of lingered. With the addition of the ELA coach, and we do have a math coach in district, we were thinking those would no longer be necessary, so those are small. Janelle was willing to go through and say, and look at some items and say, like, what can I take more risk on, right? Instructional materials, I can fight not to spend money on instructional materials, technology. Again, a lot of that technology is going to be IEP mandated, right? But we're really going to try not spend on anything we don't absolutely need and isn't absolutely mandated by something like an IEP. Professional development conferences, again, the needs to attend conferences and things like that is very important for our staff. Janelle looked at that a couple more times and said I could take a little bit of money out of there. You will see unemployment insurance showing up everywhere. As long as we don't do additional cuts beyond anything on here, I think we can be okay with this unemployment insurance number. The challenge is, people can fight for unemployment for anything. I've had people who left of their own accord who then went and applied for unemployment and they got it. It's hard to stop. Copier contract, same thing. Joe worked really hard to renegotiate a little bit of that contract, figured out where we could eke up some savings. Telephone, there's a little money that, as I was digging through, going through every single line item, that I think we could pull out of that. Dan offered up a little bit of money from some maintenance lines. It's not huge, but again, we're looking for every single little thing. We may not be able to do all the grounds maintenance we want. We may not be able to maintain some of the equipment in the way we might want to. We may not be able to paint when we need to. Those are just things we'll give up. Again, the cuts to finance office staff, you'll see in all. The net is a 20% cut to a single staff person in finance and tech. Curriculum review, that is gone. So you will see there was a page 1 and this is page 2. Total savings, $335,548. That's a big piece to have to cut out of our budget. And that's not, as Al said, we don't want to cut a nickel of this, but we just don't really have a choice. We're up against a wall. So Tohoto, recognizing that there was a lot of concern about some of the cuts that have happened at Tohoto in the past few years, some of the staff that were lost there. We really tried to be mindful of digging deep into the things that weren't necessarily staff-based and trying to see what we could do, though, to help support the budget overall. So we did, as we looked at paraprofessionals and really tried to ask some of the questions and say we're going to take more risk, we said, well, we can cut a para. Doesn't mean, the problem is that everything with special education is IEP based. We could get an IEP tomorrow that says we need that para. We may have to come back, but every one of these items fits into that category. Instructional technology, same thing as both other schools. We're taking a cut in that, hoping that we're able to deliver services. Some of that occupational therapy, contract services, instructional coaching. Joe dug deep into, I want to say it was 7 different supply lines. I'm not lining all of them out, but he really said, like, we can work with these other lines and we can just eliminate these. We just don't need them. I mean, we could use them, but we can try to live without them. The net of unemployment insurance, when I did it out by the numbers, actually puts a little bit more back into the Tohoto budget, but the net, if you look at all 3 cuts, is a total cut of $20,000 district-wide. It's just that the way it played out in terms of how it would be assessed to the various schools. Our next item really is contingent, but I'm hopeful that the school committee will do it. I think we'll be bringing it around in the next meeting. It would be increasing our athletic fees that have not increased in many years. I think I talked to Lisa and she couldn't remember the last time those had increased. So this takes up the per sport fees and then the maximum by a little bit, and brings parking up a little bit as well.
So we have not brought that in front of school committee yet because we hadn't had a chance since that last March meeting. We did speak with Rich and Lisa and Julie Lee, our athletic director, about the cost for athletics and the cost for parking. So we feel that, and we'll also be talking later on about some other things. I know Lisa, you brought up about rentals, right? We're looking at all those things of ways to bring in some additional revenue into our district as well too. So this is minimum. We compared, Jen did some good work in looking at other communities and other districts, what the costs are for both parking and for athletics. We're right on par with everybody around us is as well too. But we'll be bringing that to you at the next school meeting to vote on, but we had to get it in preparation for the budget.
Yep. We've shared that we know we have to have a conversation about our building use fees and policies and things like that. That's just a lot more than we can bring to the table right now, but we're confident that this change would bring, and we're hopeful that the school committee would do it. We're willing to take that leap.
We're going to ask school committee to put together some sort of committee to work with us on this, because we're losing money some events that we're having, right? They're all great events, right? We're excited about it, but we do a lot of things here. The play, if anyone went to the high school play where they did the spelling bee, it was fantastic, right? People were there, it was wonderful. But we had custodian coverage for Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday, right? In terms of keeping the building open, keeping it maintained, cleaning the bathrooms, all of that. We're not going to charge our students, right, for those productions, but yet where does that money come from? And sometimes that even the rental we're charging people, we're losing money by paying our custodian, but we're paying what we're charging for rental fees. So we really, it's huge. Jen started some work with me to start looking at that with our secretaries as well too. We really need some help from school committee and some other members to really look at that, because right now some of the events we're having, we're losing money by letting them use our buildings.
But did you charge for tickets to the play?
It's a great question, Megan, right? So we charge tickets for the play that goes to the group that's doing it.
It goes to the club.
It goes to the club.
There's a boosters club for that helps produce the plays.
That's right. So it doesn't go back to us.
So it goes to the club, it doesn't go to the district?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we do well, right? We say, yes, we want you to have events here. We give you that free because we want them to be taking place here, but we still have to pay for our custodians and things like that.
So copy your contract, finance office staff, tech support staff, curriculum review, same things you've seen in the other budgets. So things we're willing to do what we can. So then we get into updated assessments. So when we get into Berlin Memorial and Tohoto, we're looking at a total Berlin Memorial assessment of $4,918,497. Their share of Tohoto at $4,090,840. Total assessment of $9,009,337. Just a reminder, our March 10th Berlin operating assessment was $9,166,930. So we feel like that represents some solid cuts on behalf of Berlin. And as we said, I think the select board has agreed to support that number. So we're hopeful that that will go in the warrant and we'll have it. Boylston. Again, steeper cuts in Boylston based on some of the challenges. Net Berlin Elementary of $5,346,791. Tohoto assessment $7,672,891. Total of $13,019,682. That lines up with the number we received from the town this morning. Factoring for that small change in transportation. Again, reminder of the March 10th number. Someone did bring up, there was a question about the difference in the percentage changes to the Tohoto assessment, just to catch that ahead of time. There was a shift in minimum local contribution towards Berlin, as well as an overall number shift towards Berlin. So when we do those calculations, that becomes a net shift to Berlin absorbing a little bit more of the Tohoto piece of the pie. Oops. So at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I know there's going to be some commentary and potentially some questions, but as we did before, this would be the requested motion. Any questions?
I have a bunch.
Yep.
Do you want me to go first?
Do we want to do our discussion before public comment? Do we want people to weigh in on public comment?
I have like some clarification questions I think might be helpful.
Okay.
So first off, I know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know off the top of your head, like about what our school choice balance was before we take this 910,000? Is it like 2 million?
So yeah,
2.5 million?
you have, after this year, you will have somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.4 million.
After we take the 910?
This is not including this
Okay.
budget. This past year, you agreed to put a significant amount because we did not have E&D certified. And again, we're struggling with that at the moment. It's the last thing. I think I mentioned that I really see this as like a 2-year plan to get to sort of fix some of the challenges we have. This is the last thing outstanding. All of our other reports, everything is in on time. And it's just some nuances that we're debating, and they've had some, I think, changes to how they consider excess and deficiency. So, and we had those challenges with the capital accounts, and I didn't really factor in how much that would play into our E&D balance and those calculations.
Okay, so about 2.4 million in school choice before taking the 910 out, and then what
Yeah.
about E&D? But obviously, before you certified at
Yeah.
200,000,
Yeah.
was there like a million in there? Or?
So there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $700 and some $1,000 at the end of 2025.
Yeah.
Now, the number we eventually get certified will be somewhat reduced because of some of the challenges in our capital accounts. You will see once we look at this, and maybe I'll go to the next slide in a minute, that we are requesting a rollover of some capital funds. One is the playground, I know we've talked about. That is something that wasn't done in the past. So what happens is when you roll that money over, without getting, say, approval of school committee, you now have an unbudgeted item that you're now spending money on. And I didn't want to get into all of this, but DLS considers that a negative variance, and they take that out of your excess and deficiency. By properly approving the expenditure, we can then preserve that as a budgetary item. And I will say, in speaking with our auditor, he sees things a little differently, so everybody's seeing things a little differently, and this is maybe the conversation I didn't want to necessarily get into the details on. But he sees our capital account, as the way I've always seen it as well, as a special purpose fund, and that money can go across fiscal years. So that's where the nuances come in, and again, I didn't understand how they would play. I didn't understand that DLS might be sort of seeing this differently this year, as they haven't in past years they've dealt with this. So it kind of is what it is.
Okay, and then just one last question. So
Yeah.
the ads that we made last month, the bio teacher at Tohoto, the reading specialist at Tohoto, the ELA coach at BES, and the recess aides, was that everything we added?
Not
There's
recess
no
aides.
No
The
recess
nurse.
aides?
We
Nurse.
added the nurse.
The nurse, the floating
The
nurse.
float nurse, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so
Those are still in the budget.
6 point,
Yep.
right? 0.6.
Yeah. It went from a 0.4 to a 1.0.
So we're taking the float nurse full-time?
That's correct.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so all of those are included in this budget. So these cuts that you've listed here are affording us to keep
Yes.
these
The ability to have
things.
those things, yes,
Okay,
to some degree.
I just wanted that clarification.
And Megan, that ELA coach is both for both Berlin and Boston.
Right.
Okay, yep.
And so we just
Yep.
said that we have shared.
You're
between
right,
both
yep,
systems.
oh, yep, just like the math coach.
That's right.
All right,
But the reading coach is just the high school.
The reading specialist, right, difference between the coach and reading specialist, sorry, I didn't mean it, but reading specialist will be just at the high school. Or middle school, high school.
and the float nurse is the Tohoto budget or district?
Float nurse covers all 3 schools.
All three.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, that's it for me right now.
Aaron, do you have other slides that you want to show us? or-
There's one more slide, and this is the rollover, so one final request, it's procedural, but this is the rollover, so I would be requesting, in addition to the budget, This will allow me to roll over these two items. And we realistically, by the time we get this money approved, oftentimes in May, things like the elevator controls are something that take months to schedule out. So there's no way we could get it done over the summer as much as we tried. And there's no other good time to get that done because it shuts down an elevator. If we're without an elevator, the school shuts down. So Dan will get those elevators controls done this summer for sure. The BES playground, and again, our auditor said, in the past, this has always been multi-year, but I'm making sure that we sort of perfect this going forward. The BES playground equipment, I know, I apologize. Someone's not going to see me. The BES playground equipment, I know there's conversations about fundraising and getting some additional money, and you've been part of those conversations, Megan, that have sort of left us hanging on to that and knowing that we were going to work on that ideally by this summer. So I want to make sure that funding is available and no one questions the availability of those funds. So I would request the school committee roll over those two items for the upcoming year.
What happens if we need to do the playground equipment before June 30th? What happens if we need the 30? What happens
if you have to do it what?
What happens if we vote to roll the 30,000, but we actually need it before June 30th?
You can still use it.
Okay.
Yeah. You have an approval for 26. This will give you the approval for 27. I think it's very likely you're not going to be able to get all the work done before the end of June at this point. I mean, the ground's just thawing and scheduling people, and I know there's. So the best time is the summer. I mean, I've done them in the fall a little bit when you couldn't schedule them during the summer, but those are less impactful than the elevator controls, right? Like I said, we would fence off the playground equipment area and just keep people out of it. That if we had to have people come in and do it in the fall, but the elevator controls, we would have to shut the school without an elevator while that work is being done.
So this is a lean budget, right? And I'm sure you're paying attention to other communities around us, the cuts that they're making, huge, millions of dollars, 70 positions in some school districts that my colleagues are making cuts. We don't want to make any of these. And I know that we keep saying that, but it was asked of us to look at the cuts that we need to make, at the same time adding these 4 positions that we wanted to voted on to add in there. So again, we didn't have much guidance. We had a lot of time that we spent really being mindful, as you can see. I mean, there's nothing else there. We really trimmed it as best as we can. And these numbers work with both towns have given us. So here we are, coming to you and saying, here's where we're at this point. Those are the numbers. This budget, what we're presenting to you right now, works with both towns' numbers at this point.
All right, good. Aaron, you're all set with your presentation?
Yeah, that should end it. I think I have a thank you slide. So thank you.
So, hang out there. Oh, well, actually, whatever you want, hang out there. We're going to open it up to public comment if anyone want to make a public comment on anything on the agenda.
Proceed.
Anybody?
You want to sign in? No, sorry.
Wait, no?
Just someone, no, hold on.
Yeah, well, all right. Oh.
Try to use a teacher voice. I forgot very well, but I feel compelled to speak.
Just start with your name and town.
Sure. I'm Carrie LaFrancois. I'm from Boylston Elementary School. Good evening, members of the school committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Carrie LaFrancois. To the kids, I'm Miss Carrie, and I'm a school adjustment counselor at Boylston Elementary School. I'm here to express my deep concern about the proposed reduction of my position from full-time to 0.5, and more importantly, the significant impact this decision will have on our students. As an adjustment counselor, my role is to support the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our students so they're able to access their education. This work is not supplemental, it's essential. When students are struggling with anxiety, emotional regulation, peer conflict, or crises, they cannot fully engage in their learning. My role is to help remove those barriers so they can succeed both academically and socially. Reducing the school adjustment counseling role to 0.5 would mean taking valuable support away from the students. As it is right now, far more than 0.5 of my day alone
is working with scheduled students on an individual or group basis, many of which are not optional. They're legally mandated through student IEPs and 504s. These are students who rely on consistent, structured, and frequent support to function successfully in the school environment. If my role is reduced, students would lose access to these pull-out or push-in supports. This percentage also includes the Tier 2 students who have been identified and require counseling intervention to teach skills such as emotional regulation, coping strategies, and problem solving, who may need structured daily check-ins, a short-term group, or push-in support during difficult parts of the school day. And that does not even capture the full scope of my daily role at BES. In addition to those direct services, the daily work of the school adjustment counselor at BES includes supporting students who drop in and are in need of immediate help or support, facilitating peer mediations, attending IEP and 504 meetings, consulting regularly with the teachers, communicating with parents, collaborating with outside therapists and agencies, conducting risk assessments and developing safety plans, responding to students in crisis, and delivering classroom-wide social emotional learning lessons. Out of the 300 plus students at BES, about a third this year have received some form of counseling intervention, and the numbers are only increasing as we receive more and more referrals through our instructional support team meetings each week. Even in a full-time position, there are simply not enough hours in the school day to address these needs. Cutting this role in half does not reduce the needs of our students. It only reduces the capacity to support them. And this decision, while made with budget considerations in mind, will have real and immediate consequences for the children we serve. It will mean students waiting for longer support, missing services they're entitled to, and struggling in classrooms without the interventions they need to succeed. Before joining BES, the BES team 2 years ago, I worked in a high school setting for 7 years. I've seen firsthand what happens when students do not receive appropriate social emotional support early on. The gaps widen, the challenges intensify. By the time students reach middle and high school, those unmet needs often present as more significant behavioral, emotional, and academic difficulties. Elementary school is where we have the opportunity to intervene early, to teach coping skills, build emotional awareness, and set students on a positive trajectory. Reducing this role undermines that opportunity. I urge the committee to reconsider this decision. Our students deserve consistent, accessible, and comprehensive support. Reducing this position will not diminish their needs, it will only limit our ability to meet them. At a time when mental health needs are on the rise, now is not the time to reduce an important role such as this. Our students deserve more, not less. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to our students.
Thank you. Thank you. Would anyone else like to make a comment? Yep. If we can make sure we keep our comments to a 3-minute policy, would be great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy. I'm the school nurse at Boylston Elementary School. I just started here about a year ago. I was drawn to the school for its supportive, nurturing, and student-centered environment. I do understand that we're facing budget constraints as we look at the next fiscal year. And while none of the cuts are ideal, as Al said, I'm here to speak about the importance of keeping the school adjustment counselor as a full-time position versus the proposed cut to a half-time position. I would conservatively estimate that at least 1/3 of my health office visits, and that's a conservative estimate, it might be more about half the student health visits, are physical manifestations of social emotional concerns, including anxiety, depression, social difficulties, difficulty with executive functioning. The statistics support this. From 2016 to 2020, the rate of anxiety and depression diagnoses in children ages 3 to 17 in Massachusetts increased 51%, from 12.2% to 18.4%. Approximately 10 to 12% of children ages 3 to 17 in Massachusetts have a diagnosis of ADHD as well. The data and statistics continue to show that these rates are increasing exponentially each year, with a widening gap in the services that are available to them in the community outside of the school. This makes school-based social, emotional, and behavioral support even more critical. In our building alone, we deal with all of these diagnoses and more. Many of our students have legally binding IEPs and 504s that have counseling services or accommodations tied to them. These services alone add up to definitely more than half of the time that a school adjustment counselor can provide. So many of our other students fall into a gray area where they're not quite severe enough to warrant a diagnosis, not quite behind enough to need formal support, not struggling enough to warrant major interventions. But the support that our adjustment counselor is able to provide by working with teaching staff and applying Tier 2 interventions helps a lot of these gray area students get back on track and prevents escalating their needs to a crisis level. A half-time position would only barely allow her to serve the students that she already has the legal obligation to. The rest of these students in that gray area will no longer be able to get the preventative services that they're getting now that you may not see or hear about. And this will likely result in more special education referrals, as we'll be limited on those Tier 2 interventions that we can provide. So I urge the committee to please take another look at the budget. I know it's tight. Consider both the long and short-term impacts that reducing this role would have on our students now and as they progress through our school system. It's a critical part of our daily function at BAS, and it's a really important role. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Thank you.
We just want to read, or I just want to read a quick just comment about the calendar from the BBA.
Sure. Name and town for the record, please.
Yep, Hillary Johnston, Boylston.
Thank you.
After gathering feedback of the draft calendar, 2 adjustments that the BBEA would suggest are making the day before Thanksgiving a half day rather than a full day off, and not taking off Good Friday. For it unnecessarily endorses one religion over others. If there is a concern that people take the day off for religious purposes, then a compromise could be to make Good Friday a half day, which would allow people to access the services in the afternoon. And we thank you for your consideration of these points.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Christina Medeiros, Boylston. I did want to thank you all. You're doing great work. Thank you for all that. I know how much time it takes to do this stuff, and thank you all for the numbers earlier, and Aaron. I had a bunch of stuff and I crossed it out, so lucky you guys. And I thank you for the clarifications earlier. That really helped. I think that's going to help clarify for parents. But I did just want to take a couple minutes to talk about the Prop 2.5. You know, I think we need to have an honest conversation about what Prop 2.5 means, and I think both towns need to do this, and school committee needs to be a big part of that conversation. I think right now, there's this narrative that, you know, it's being like, if we stay under Prop 2.5, it's sort of some kind of success on both towns' halves, and that's not true, right? There are, you know, it's really a risk to our schools. It's a risk to our property values. It, you know, our ability to attract families to our communities. It's avoiding these overrides and the school absorbing these cuts. It just puts us in a much worse situation down the road. I mean, we're just kicking the can down the road, honestly. I think staying under the cap is sort of, it's cutting, but it's not fiscal responsibility. It's avoiding fiscal responsibility. And I think every year we sort of continue to sort of accept the town's numbers and sort of make it work. We're really sending the message to the select board and the finance committee that, you know, we had room to cut. Right, that's the message that we're sending. The number that we submitted was some kind of starting position, and it wasn't our real need, and we all know that's not the truth, right? We need these things. We're telling them that, yeah, we can manage, we can manage all the painful cuts that we're gonna make. You know, and every time you cut, you absorb consequences. You know, teachers on the other side of the table, you're telling them that there's, you know, we're just gonna make cuts because we're gonna make it work for the towns. You know, so I think what I'm truly sort of asking you guys for a commitment is, you know, we need a concrete plan going into next year. I think both towns have admitted that we're gonna be going to a Prop 2.5, and that's a real possibility. I think 50 towns went to a Prop 2.5 last year, and half of them passed, and I'm sure the rest of them are all going to go back on the ballot this year. So I think there's a lot of preparation, honestly, that this board has to do with the select board and has to do with the finance committee very early on in the fiscal year. Have that conversation, make a plan, work with the select board to sort of, put these questions to the voters, because it's going to be very important for them to understand, why we're going to Prop 2.5, what's in that Prop 2.5, like what are all these insurance costs, right? There's going to be a lot of effort that needs to go into that, and it needs to be a really big year-long conversation, so that when we come to the vote and when we come to budget season, that's already in place and people understand what the vote's about and why we're raising taxes, honestly. I think the community deserves that. I think they deserve to understand why we're asking them to pay more taxes. And there is obviously a cost. Everybody in this room knows what it is. They look at the numbers all the time. But what's the alternative if we don't do that, right? Our class sizes are just going to get bigger. We're going to lose really valued teachers. We're not going to be able to, attract good educators. Our whole system is just going to start to crumble. So I think there's a lot of work going into next year, and I appreciate this budget this year, I really do, and the cuts that you guys had to make. So that's my sort of feedback on Prop 2.5. Just something quick about the cuts for the adjustment counselor. I know we love our math tutors in the district, but we got really great math scores. So it may be something to consider that we've been talking a lot about ELA and making sure that we make an investment there, and we see the reading scores that are much, much lower. And we also don't want to take our foot off the gas with our social and emotional sports for kids. So maybe it's something where you guys get creative about, because it's tight this year, maybe we share the emotional counselor, the adjustment counselor across schools between BMS and BES. If I was a Berlin parent and there was no adjustment counselor, I'd be pretty upset about that, right? That doesn't seem equitable to me. So maybe if you guys can find some room on the Berlin side to keep this social emotional adjustment counselor on, I think that would be great, because I think it's a big part of what the kids need. I don't think we should be taking that kind of stuff off the table for them. I really don't.
Thank you.
Hello, Kathy Leduc, teacher, Boylston Elementary School. As an elementary teacher, I see every day how much our students carry with them into the classroom, far beyond just academics. They bring worries about friendships, family, and other emotional needs, and emotions that they don't even have the tools to understand or express yet. While we do our best as educators to support them, we aren't trained counselors, and we can't meet all of these needs by ourselves. Our full-time adjustment counselor provides consistent, professional support for our students' social and emotional well-being. She helps them to build coping skills, resolve conflicts, and feel safe and heard. When students are emotionally supported, they're better able to focus, learn, and succeed. Our full-time counselor doesn't just help individual students in crisis. She strengthens our entire school community through prevention, guidance, and collaboration with teachers and families. Continuing to invest in a full-time adjustment counselor is an investment in our students' success, both in and out of the classroom. And our children deserve that support every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right.
Can I?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Julie Nato, from Boylston. I have 2 kids at BES, and of these cuts, the ones that I can speak to are the paraprofessionals in kindergarten. Let's see. I would just strongly oppose those cuts because I think it has a ripple effect that we might not think about. That not only are the paras not in there for the students, they're also not there for the general ed teacher, who is already overworked because, as you know, they lost one of their planning periods due to last year's cuts. So I worry that we might lose those 3 fabulous teachers to other positions. And they've just been so wonderful for both my kids that that would be a tragedy. The only other point I had was I saw the note about someone with the bingo night and wanting to not have serve alcohol. And while I understand those points, I think it brings in money. You get more people to come to the fundraiser. That's just the way of our culture. So I would support keeping the alcohol when possible.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? All right, Megan, I know you're looking at me about the bingo, right?
No, I was just wondering, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
More about the budget.
Yeah, no, we're gonna get more
Yeah.
about it, yeah. If
I
there's
didn't
no
know if
more
we were gonna
comments-
have a further discussion.
Yeah, we are. All right, so if there's no more public comment, then we will move on to our budget. Next on the list is our budget vote, which we'll discuss. So for the committee, now you've heard Aaron. Aaron, do you mind coming back up here if we have any questions for you? To start. Yeah. Anybody want to start with a suggestion?
I mean,
Okay.
does Berlin have the capacity to absorb?
I would not.
They want us to cut another 150, but they begrudgingly approved the number.
Right,
we're
like,
at, so.
it was not approved by FinCom, it was approved by the select board. I would not touch the money in Berlin.
My other question about the adjustment counselor and the kindergarten pairs, and it's not, I'm just curious. I know Berlin doesn't have kindergarten pairs anymore, right?
So there
Yeah,
was,
one.
there was
one.
There was
They have
one
one.
this year at Berlin Memorial.
And they're
There was-
teaching one.
And there's 2 kindergarten classrooms, but there was one. The fortunate part about that is our numbers are right now low in kindergarten. We keep them low, which is a little helpful, but we had to make some cuts somewhere, and that's where we were looking at that.
What are the projected numbers?
Yeah.
It's in the school choice.
What's that?
It was in the school choice.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I was like,
I think
wait.
it was 26 for BMS, and there was no number in there for BES. It said unknown.
26 total for 2 classes at BMS?
I think so, and, let me pull it up. I don't want to see that.
What is it, at like this point, is it
Yeah.
like you get 80%, then you get another 20? John, isn't it like at this point, you'll get another 20% though, right? For kindergarten?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You spoke to it before, that's why I turned.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yes, we usually, I wouldn't say 20%, but there will be kids between now and August 30th that will come in.
So right now, there's 2 classrooms with a total of 26, maybe 30. That's maybe 15, and obviously 15 in the classroom.
That's BMS, but we don't know what
Yeah,
BES
at
is.
BMS.
BES said unknown.
BES, we have no idea what the count is for kindergarten.
Maybe before we get into discussing individual positions to add or cut, maybe we want to think about, kind of going what Christina said, right? Christina said, do we want to attempt to go for an override? Because so here's the thing, right? Regional school budget, the school committee sets the budget. The select boards and FinComs don't set the budget. But the select boards and FinComs certainly have to figure out how to pay for that budget, and that means taxes going up. And if they say that Boylston's at their levy capacity, then it has to be an override, or, we could send this to town meeting could approve it, they'd have to either go to override, or maybe town meeting's gonna cut some other department in town, we don't know, we don't have any say over that. So maybe before we get into individual positions, adding back and taking out, and we decide if we wanna even attempt for the override or not.
My thought, and I 100% agree with Christina, that's right on the nose, but we have to start planning for next year, but I think it is too late to plan for this year. For Tohoto, we cut. And last year, we cut those positions, we trialed it a year, realized this doesn't work, and then we added them back into the budget. I know these cuts are painful, but if we have our eye on an override perhaps for next year, do we take these cuts now and then have the proof to say, this didn't work, we need these bodies, we need an override? It gives us more of a fight, a reason for the fight, to show that we tried, we did the best that we could. I think it worked out for Tohoto last year to be able to show that these cuts were not sustainable.
My one thing for this year is that we're adding heads to cut other heads. And I like that we're trying to figure out what our priorities are as a district. I think that's a good thing. I think that's one thing that we've kind of done, or we've taken the budget opportunity to do that. But to Beth's point, I don't think any of these things are good things to cut, and I'm wondering, personally, do we not add the heads at the elementary school to maybe keep some of the heads that we're planning to cut? Because there are a lot of heads at BES.
So the path you're going down, Megan, I think the numbers we added, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, I think it totaled about 280,000 roughly, right? 3 positions at 90.
What you added?
The ads, right? So
The ads
biology
were a
teacher,
little
the-
over 300,000.
300, okay, 300.
Yeah.
And what we've cut in this budget is over 500, right? So
Yes.
we could eliminate all of that, and we're still looking to cut 100-something thousand, right?
Mhm.
So we'd still have to do something.
I think some of the cuts that were made I'm talking about the heads.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were some things on there that weren't heads. And there were some things on there, you guys know better than us about the needs for the sped paras and stuff like that. I can't speak to that, but I just think for the adjustment counselor and the K paras, the number they have in the drive right now for kindergarten is 54 kids. That's the same as last year for BES, so that's almost.
I don't think there is a number. Is there a number?
It said
It says
54.
54, as in that's what the current one is.
I don't know if that
It
means
just says
that's-
unknown.
Megan, I have 47 on the incoming kindergartners.
Oh, okay.
That's what Lynn and I have shared in Drive.
And that's 3
Incoming
classes.
Divided by 3.
That's ones who have already started the enrollment.
That's 47 right now?
And that's 3 classrooms, so that's 15, 16.
Yeah.
Which is comparable to what we have in Berlin as well.
Yeah, but they'll definitely get more before, by the summer.
There will be more.
There'll be at least 10% more, maybe more.
You're awfully short of that.
Well, I'm just going by, I remember when we had this conversation, and maybe it was 2 years ago, when John and, I can't remember who was principal at BES, had at the time, it was Ace, I can't remember. I know we've had the conversation multiple times that the number for kindergarten right now is not the final. It
Sure.
always goes up. I thought John had said usually between 10 and 20%, maybe I'm wrong.
So are we going to get into the minutia and the details of these types of conversations tonight? Or do we want to decide, first of all, are we going to do what we can to avoid an override, or do we want to go for an override? Because even eliminating all of that, there's still 150, whatever the number is, need to be cut. Aaron, you're
So
chomping.
I just want to say, we're not prepared to do an à la carte right now like we did the other, and this gets really complicated because everybody's got different wants and desires. My suggestion for the school committee for tonight is, with what you have on the table, is we've created a pathway, right? We've worked with the administrators, we've looked at what can get us to the numbers, to the destination we need to reach right now for the towns. You guys do have some control over some of those line items, and if the school committee would like us to present, an alternative, or like that could be a conversation. But like right now, I think it's either the March 10th number or this number, because I cannot do an à la carte tonight, right? And try to
Totally
figure
get it.
out assessments and all of that, how everything interplays. But the question is, are you gonna go, look for the override at Boylston mostly, and if not, then, you go to a second meeting and, all of that plays out, the way it does.
And I wanted to go back to be careful about that a la carte hours hours and hours these people spent deciding what cuts they were going to make. But also, and Beth was there with me at Berlin when we went to present in front of the Berlin Select Board. They were asked very poignant questions. If we're passing this budget, is this going to mean that you're going to have the reading specialist? Is this going to mean that you're going to have the biology teacher? They were very clear in asking those questions. And I publicly said, school committee at this point has voted them in, so here's where I am talking to you about this right now. So I just want to make sure that publicly they asked me those questions, that the money they were giving to us was going to make sure these things were still in place.
Right, there was 3 students that came to speak for those positions, and that was part of their support of this budget.
So, Mike, to answer your question about the override, I personally am against doing an override this year. I 100% agree with what Beth said about, I think, and you know, Christina, to her point, it's an excellent point. You start something like that down like December, November, and you get a committee and you got a team of parents to help because you got to market and you got to do signs and you got to, so I'm on board with that for next year, and I think it needs to be strategic, so you're not just asking for like 3 or 4 things, you're kind of projecting down the road. We'll have a better, our district improvement plan, we'll have reviewed that, admin team will have time to digest that, maybe that's something that we do next year. I don't think right now it's a good idea to do that. I think we'll be unprepared. I do believe it will fail. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, after the fire station passed, I mean, that was several $100 increase in taxes last year, so I don't think it would pass in Boylston, so then that could potentially be a 1/12 budget, so that would take more away from our kids.
So I think our vote tonight is, like Aaron suggested, March 10th or tonight. And if we do want them to do further work, maybe see if you can reallocate something, which is an impossible task. I mean, not really what we're asking to do, but it sounds like some people might be in favor of that. And there's a lot of support from, you know, what, a dozen or so emails, multiple people speaking tonight in favor of this, but only one person speaking about the realities of the override. I know everybody wants the adjustment counselor. Nobody suggested what else to cut instead of that.
I would cut the reading coach, the ELA coach at BES, and keep the adjustment counselor. I mean, I don't.
So if we want to vote on whether or not to go for an override, we could do that and then ask them to maybe consider a plan B.
Say that again?
So if we wanted to vote on either the March 10th number or tonight's number, it's our budget. We can always reallocate funds within that budget, right?
Right.
We can always do that. We can do that in September, we can do it in January, we can do it whenever, right? We've done it in the past. The question really is, you know, do you want to work with the towns to come to what they can afford? Do you not believe that's what they can afford? Do you want to try to go for the override, or do you want to go with what looks like would be supported by the town select boards and FinComs?
Are you asking me?
No, that's the question I'm putting out there, like that's what we're voting on basically.
Yeah, I'm fine with keeping the number, but I'm not, like I said, I don't want to make more work for you right now. And I know we voted literally minutes before town meeting reducing the budget. So I know as long as we, you know, aren't increasing it, we can do it next week, we can do it week after, we can do it the day of town meeting if we want. But I guess I'm not okay with walking out of here tonight with the budget as listed, because to me that means that we have voted to take that adjustment counselor position down to half-time, and we've voted to get rid of those paras and give, you know, and we're keeping in some of this other stuff. I personally, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty details, I agree with keeping the bio teacher and the reading specialist at Tohoto. Like I said, I would probably look at that ELA coach at BES and that float nurse and see, you know, if we can keep some of the K paras and the adjustment counselor full-time and trade off these two, you know, that's my personal thing.
Like Aaron said, the a la carte conversation is kind of off the table for tonight, but willing to look at it in the future. We need the motion out there. There's no motion on the table, but the motion would be for a number, a budget number. That's right.
But the committee could collectively provide us with some direction, requesting us to look at, you know, if there's one of, you approve 4 items, if there's an item on there that you know is impactful to that one item, to Boylston or what have you, you could direct us to look at that for the next meeting and we could have that conversation. it's really hard to do an à la carte with so much on the table, right? Because I'll tell you, for every email, we're getting over an adjustment counselor, there's every single item that we, particularly if it's staff, right? We have emails on it, right?
Yeah.
As do you.
Yeah.
So we can't do it all. So I think we would need clear direction from the school to take the vote, but to then provide us with some direction as to what you'd like us to look at.
And just being
And that needs
mindful,
to be a collect,
like the ELA coach, right, if that's the direction you guys want us to go in, that impacts Berlin's budget as well too.
Yeah.
So we have to go back to Berlin and have conversation with them as well too, because they voted their budget and we met their number,
Yeah.
right? So it's a complicated puzzle, you guys all know that,
Well,
but
we met the selectman number that they begrudgingly agreed to, and not the
They did not
finance
begrudgingly agree
No,
to.
they
They
were-
fully supported it. They were
But the
very
finance-
good about it.
But
But your
finance committee has.
Berlin FinCom is
They were
not.
split,
2-2.
2-2.
So what does that mean, a failed vote or pass? It's a failed
Not
vote.
considered
It's not
not
a fail,
supported,
not
but they were
passed.
very good last year at the meeting at standing up and acknowledging that it was a 2-2. They did the same thing last year.
Oh, so it's a.
They were very nice about standing up and acknowledging that it was 2-2. It was not like a fail.
and I can't stress enough, they asked really thoughtful questions. It gave credibility to the work that we did here, right? It really did. So I have to acknowledge that. I sat for hours in some other town meetings and no one asked me any questions about some of these things, which was difficult for us as well too. But very thoughtful questions from Berlin about what would this look like for the reading specialist? What would this look like for the coaching model as well?
Yeah.
So in Berlin, they have, so the select board and FinCom, 7 people total, they would recommend, something at town meeting, so what is it? So 5 of the 7 actually are in support of this number, so.
So it's a pass.
I mean, it's not necessarily that, because they're split on different boards, but of the 7 people who are giving a recommendation, 5 of them, something like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, every single email I can identify about how our children have used the adjustment counselors, and then more and more need over the elementary, and if it's not addressed in the elementary, it gets worse in the high school. So I feel that, and I don't argue with any of that. I think to cancel out the paras in kindergarten for an ELA coach is like, that doesn't make sense. We are hiring a new superintendent who literally lectures around the country about ELA and reading. So I don't know if next year is really the year to also bring on an ELA coach, which we literally hired a superintendent for that knowledge in that area.
This is what we said at the March 10th meeting, and then we added it on. So we had this conversation.
I know, yes, I know he's the superintendent, but I was hoping that he would share that knowledge with us and not just the nation. So I would like to bring that up again.
I mean, he probably will, right? He could, absolutely.
No, I fully, and that
Look
was
what-
my
look-
mind as well. Like that's
Look
why
at
I
the
did
work
not think we
Al does.
should
Like,
add
He's not
it.
going to be in the buildings coaching. Like, look at how much work Al does. Like, he's going to be the superintendent. He's not going to be the coach, right? Like,
But he could mentor, to her point, some of the
He
teachers.
could mentor some,
Through the
sure.
professional development.
Yeah, or work with the
How much
tutors to
extra
kind of
time
take
would
them
you
up
have
a
this year to
notch.
mentor someone?
Yeah. Dr. Cohen and I have been working really closely, we're looking forward to working closely together, but he's never been a superintendent, right? So there's a whole transition for him. Different being an assistant superintendent, he's got to do phenomenal work, but he's got to have to learn this job and the responsibilities that go along with this job as well too. So to say he's going to be the ELA coach at the same time is a big stretch for him.
No, I know, but like, we're looking at a new curriculum, hypothetically ELA curriculum. We're getting a superintendent with ELA knowledge.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a little premature to be hiring an ELA coach as well within kind of that transition year while taking out the one-on-one individual help within the classroom at kindergarten, which is the foundation to their education. So, and I mentioned last meeting too, like, we know that there's more nursing needs within our students, but maybe the 0.8 FTA would be something to consider, acknowledging we do need more, but there's a whole lot of need everywhere. So,
We were really trying to be equitable as well too. And I know, equal doesn't necessarily mean, equitable doesn't necessarily mean equal. We get that, but we're really trying to be mindful of what's happening in Berlin in the schools and what's happening in Boylston Elementary Schools, with paras, with all the support they're getting. There's still need in Berlin as well too, so we're just trying to be mindful of that when we made those decisions. We absolutely think there should be a full-time adjustment council. We should be a full-time adjustment council in Berlin as well too. We just needed to make sure we reach this number here that Berlin and Boylston has given to us at the town. So now, to Aaron's point, what we said, you gotta, if you vote on this number that we've given you here, and if you want to send us in a direction a little bit, not opening it up completely, but saying, okay, would you revisit maybe looking at this piece of this pie, then we certainly can. But just know it impacts Berlin if you're touching the elementary schools. And we've got pretty clear direction from you guys about making sure we're leaving Tohoto because they've experienced in the past the cuts. So we're being careful with that.
Yeah, I definitely think the right move is adding back the positions that you took away from Tohoto. I think that I personally, I hear what you're saying, and I don't want to put you on the spot tonight. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's right. But I guess my question is, why can't we, you know, give you some solid direction? I don't know if we have to vote on that or not, and then take a vote on the final, like next week or the week after, or whatever, if we're meeting again before town meeting, I don't know if that's the case.
I'm pretty sure they're going to print soon, right?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
What's going, the warrant?
The warrants, yes.
Yeah, but I thought Berlin they're already printing.
I think we got it in the mail. What did we get in the mail today? We got something.
Yeah,
in the
no,
mail today.
the warrants are already final. Boylston said that, I can't speak for Berlin, but I know Boylston, they voted, the warrant is final, it's going to print with,
And then you
somebody
have
is
to
going to
make
have
an
to make an
adjustment
amendment on
on
the
the
floor,
floor.
correct, probably at both town meetings. So
Definitely
yeah,
at both
we've
town
done that in the past, I feel like that's happened almost every year, where we've had to make an amendment on the floor. Actually, I think last year was like we didn't do
All right, so,
it anyways.
hold
So
on,
that's a
slow-
non-issue.
Please slow down.
Yes, okay.
All right. Are we going to vote for this number or a different number? Or not vote for this number?
I would rather not put Aaron on the spot and discuss more. I mean, Jackie and Lisa haven't said anything. I would.
Jackie talked. Do you guys have any input? I mean, it's this number, or we can spend time going through a different number?
I think we should vote for this number.
Okay.
And then maybe provide some direction for maybe
Sure.
switching things up.
All right, so you're hearing direction around ELA coaches and whatnot, right? You're hearing, we're having a conversation. So could I have a motion, please, that the Berlin-Boylston School Committee vote to approve an amended FY27 operating budget of $25,696,973 that includes the following offsets to reduce the budget. School choice, $910,000, circuit breaker, $926,000, IDEA grant funding, $270,000, funded through the following projected revenues: Berlin operating assessment, $9,009,337, Boylston operating assessment, $13,019,682, Chapter 70 state aid, $3,229,646, Chapter 71 transportation reimbursement, $356,602, Medicaid reimbursement, $35,000, investment income, $35,000, charter school reimbursement, $11,706.
So moved.
Beth?
Second.
Lisa? All right. Any final comments on the budget? We know we're giving them direction around the ELA coaches and whatnot.
So just to clarify, we're only voting on this budget. We are not voting about these positions.
You're voting on the
or the
number,
specific-
just the number
on the
with
budget,
the
yeah.
authority to like relook at things.
And you gave us some direction about looking possibly at the ELA coach, and we will look at that.
And adding back the adjustment counselor and the kindergarten paras.
Within this number, right?
Within this number, yes, we have to
Yeah.
figure
This
out,
has to be within this
obviously.
number.
That's right.
Yes.
And we're not going to be able, for clarity, to bring back all the paras, bring back the full-time adjustment council, all based on the ELA coach. Those numbers I can just do quickly, it won't work. the
Yeah,
math,
but I
right?
think creativity, like maybe 0.8 with the adjustment
Listen,
counselor.
we couldn't have been more
I
creative.
know, no,
Please,
I know,
like
the hours
Easter
you
Sunday
spent.
night, can I just tell you what my wife's thinking right now when I was there? But we were making these cuts that night, so we are really, well, we will be, continue to do that.
Beth, you want to say?
I just want to acknowledge that, like, they didn't come to these numbers by just like, what can we cut? Like, they worked really hard to get to these numbers, and I don't want them to think that we are like looking down our noses, like, how dare you think of that? That's not this. It seems very dismissive the way we're like, but not this, but this. It's like, they didn't come to that without doing research about why they could cut that versus something else. And it's a little insulting for them to imply that like everything's swappable.
No, I'm sorry if it came off that way. I don't think, I very much appreciate all the time and effort and hours and not hours at home that you guys have spent on this budget. I think it was a little alarming to hear, yes, we wanted these things, but then there was no discussion about what we were taking away. So that was a little surprising. So,
I mean, we did ask for a list
A lot,
last year.
for
right?
sure.
Last meeting, I think Megan, you asked for a list, bring me a list of cuts, right?
Yeah, I didn't think we were gonna get it 2 hours before this meeting, though. So that was the first time I
The
saw
number
the
came in
list.
at 11:35 last
No,
night.
I
11:35
totally
last
get it,
night.
and I totally get it, yeah, and I get it. It would have been nice, like, had we had the when we had the last discussion, I thought we were meeting on March 24th, and I thought we were gonna have a list, and then I thought we were meeting again, I think it was supposed to be April
If we had met on March
14th.
24th, we wouldn't have this meeting coming up.
No, but we would have had the 14th, which is
Yeah.
next week. No, I totally get it, but like in my head, when those discussions were happening and we were voting on that, that was the last time I knew that's what I thought was going to happen when I made those comments. So had I known we weren't gonna come here until tonight and I wasn't gonna see a list of cuts until 2 hours before the meeting and have no time to ask questions or understand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, I
Understood.
absolutely I
Hold on,
understand how
hold on,
difficult,
stop.
what?
If you have further questions, this is the time to ask them. Like, this is the public meeting where we go over the budget. You're saying you didn't have time to ask questions. We have all night, ask your questions.
Right.
You know, you're saying you don't have time to ask questions.
If I can say, I mean, I understand for everybody in the audience, for everybody watching at home, for the school committee members, these are emotional cuts. These are about your kids. These are about, making sure they have the social, emotional skills that they need to live through life, what have you. We don't do this lightly. We're trying to, we come with, everyone tells me, needs-based budget. We've all heard needs-based budget, needs-based budget. We bring forward a needs-based budget, and then they say, oh, you have X dollars or X percent. Well, okay, I spent all this time, right, working with the administrative team, creating this needs-based budget, and at the end of the day, we're just going to go back to that default of, well, you get X dollars or X percent. I understand, it's incredibly frustrating for you. It's frustrating for me if everybody says, this is what we have, this is what we're going to work with, but we all chime this needs-based budget, right? Because we were trained to think that's, and if we're not going to accept the needs-based budget, or at least accept, I think it's really important to acknowledge that even if we have to make cuts, the things we're losing and how important they are, how vital they are to kids, right? So the social emotional skills are so critical when we talk about, emotional intelligence and things like that in kids. It's really challenging to make these cuts. So I don't whenever people get emotional and things like that, I completely understand. I want you to know that Al and I talk about this. We understand there are going to be emotions that are going to run high. If there are cuts at my children's school, my emotions are going to run high as well. So I don't take that, there's no reason for anyone to think, if you get hot over this, I understand that. That's part of the world that we operate in.
The difficult part also is the timeline, right? So we got Berlin on March 30th, we got Boylston's last night, and then this morning we got another number from Boylston. Even after you guys walked away from that meeting last night, that the number changed again. So we were trying to make a timeline and being respectful to the people, the cuts that we're making, so that we've all worked in school districts where people are seeing for the first time a paras being cut, a school adjustment council, and not having the individual conversations that all our admin team had to have with those people before word got out. We live in a small community. Once someone finds out, it goes out. We're trying to keep that timeline, being respectful to the HR piece that we don't have at central office, right? And making sure that we're talking to these individuals that are not seeing it there. These are tough. These are tough. And again, we want it all, right? But we need to make sure we're making cuts that we can also live with, that if it doesn't work out the way we want, we're still going to be able to open up our schools and operate them the way we can to keep our kids safe and provide a good education. And thank you, Beth, because the hours that these guys, I know I keep saying that, but the amount of time that they were not in their buildings and that were either on the office or on a Zoom call and not doing the jobs that they were supposed to do, because this is it. When you take a look at central office and the entire district, this is it to your right-hand side, with the addition of one more with Chris on there. So every one of them spent a lot of time not doing their job. We are not business people, right? But we put a lot of heart into deciding what we're going to make cuts on. So I appreciate you saying that, because we didn't do this lightly at all.
There's a motion on the table. Lisa or Jackie, do you have anything to add? No? All right.
I would like
yeah.
to say one thing.
Sure.
So in guidance, what I would love to see is maybe the nurse move down to 0.8 FTEs, the ELA coach struck in, at least for this year, one para going back to the ES, and the adjustment counselor at least 0.8. And, you know, like, it breaks my heart not to mention band at all, because I think that, again, is social emotional health of our kids, but at least we still have music. But hopefully that's a temporary 1-year thing until we organize an override. So.
But I just have one question, Mike. So we have this motion on the table for the number. So we're going to walk out of here tonight and no one's going to know we don't know if we're going to have an ELA coach or not have an ELA coach, or we don't know if we're going to have a 0.8 or a full-time adjustment counselor. I guess I'm confused walking out of here voting on something that I don't even know what I'm voting on. I'm just voting on a number and saying you guys make the decision, or explain to me what we're voting on.
That's exactly what everybody is saying they want.
No, I would like another meeting to solidify what
agree.
that budget is going to be finalized. I mean, this is that's what we do. That's one of our huge, major jobs. So, you know, like, that is shaping the education of our children. And I do really appreciate the time and effort that's been
Well,
put
I
into
think we'd
this.
have to bring that back to you, right? So we're taking your direction, right? That you would rather see the ELA, you know, give up the ELA coach, and this would have to, I mean, if there's a consensus among the committee, I don't know if you need a vote or not, but, you know, consensus of some sort or a vote to provide us direction that you're comfortable making the cut, say, to the ELA coach and/or the following, right? Maybe the nursing, but, you know, it can't just come from one individual. I think I had this conversation at Berlin FinCom, right? Beth was there. We work for the committee as a whole, so the committee is going to have to make a decision. If you're going to give us a direction, this is the direction you want us to go, right?
And I'm hearing different things, right? So I'm hearing adjustment council 0.8, bringing back a para. So I think we just need a little bit more clear direction if you're going to get that specific with us.
What's the priority? A versus
Are we
B?
going to discuss these things after we vote on this number?
Well, we're trying to figure that out, Lisa, because we've got, what, less than a month to town meeting, right?
What was the number? Is this number here, this 13,019,682, is that the exact number that
For Boylston?
Boylston gave you?
That's
The exact number?
That's not the number FinCom gave us last night, right? But that was the additional, like Aaron said, of the
Yeah,
transportation.
it's about
plan.
31,000 more this morning that came to the table.
So last night it was like 12,998.
988.
Yeah,
We had
nine-
to stick in my.
So what's the official number that they gave?
13.
It's this?
The 13 was in
13,
here, yeah, it's correct.
13,019,682.
Okay.
And
That's
exactly it.
And just to be clear,
It's exactly their number.
That's what we'd be voting on.
I just want to make sure, like, that we're voting on
the corrected number.
That's the number.
That ties to what
they
they're
gave us, that
approving.
they're
Yeah.
approving. And like, maybe there's like 50,000, I don't know, like 10,000 somewhere, I don't know.
In Boylston?
As far as
No,
we know-
I'm
as
just
far as
saying,
we
like,
know,
is
that's the
this,
number.
like, I saw all those cuts and I was just clarifying that that is the exact number that the town does, that's all.
Yeah.
So, rather than have another meeting about this, why don't we just figure it out now?
Sure. But we have a motion on the table for
Yep.
this budget.
We can amend it twice.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, I would like to amend it, to say that, but Aaron, we have to meet again.
Let's discuss before you
I'm not going to make an actual amendment, but we can't amend it right now because Aaron just said.
Here's what's happening.
It's
like-
not, it's the number would be unamended, but it would be an additional
So
Stipulation of where the money's
Here's the
going.
problem that we have, okay? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people over there, 7 and 8 people who have spent, 40 hours since Thursday night on figuring out the best way to use the money that we have to run the school, how their combined, so I don't mean to age any of you, but
A lot.
100 years of experience educating
You're just looking at me.
You know how Al 75 again?
Licensed,
Yeah, seriously, 75.
licensed in their fields, right? Not a single one of us here has an education license. Okay? Not a single one of us here has run a school. Not a single one of us here has run a district. They're saying this is what we need to run a good school. If we had all the money in the world, we would have all these things back, right? Who am I to say an ELA coach versus a .2? What is .2? 5 hours of a nurse? I don't know.
Nurses are expensive.
They are expensive. Let's get rid of the float nurse and just have a nurse at each school. I mean, we could have that conversation. I mean, this is what Lisa, Janelle, John, Rob, Rich, Al, and Aaron have said is the most efficient way to run the school next year. So if we want to question them, let's question them and say no to all this and put a number out there.
The priorities we gave you, the 1, 2, and 3, we didn't know at that time it was going to be at the expense of taking something out. Let's be clear about that, right? We added those on because we were hoping that people were going to go to Boylston and Burleson and fight like heck to say, you got to give us more money. We need more money. You got to look at us. Just like I had to have those conversations with John as opposed to Rich, as opposed to Rob, and say, this is where we got to make cuts here. We were hoping that when they went to the fire and the police and the highway, they'd say, okay, we're gonna shift some money to give it more to the schools. But that didn't happen, right? They gave us their numbers. Berlin went back and forth with us, gave us a little bit more money, but we wanted those priorities, not at the expense of losing the things that we had level. Again, I'm gonna go back. We didn't just present a level budget to you, we added a 5th grade teacher in there. And I wonder if this conversation in Williston would be a lot different. What we should have done is put that 5th grade teacher and say, okay, that's part of an option as well too, because we all decided that you didn't think those class sizes were good, and we don't think so either. But we embedded that 5th grade position, a $90,000 FTE for the most part, into that budget. So that's what made us have the trickle effect in Williston as well too. Right, so it's not level service in Williston. We added that 5th grade teacher at the expense of taking these things out.
And we're adding an ELA coach and a float nurse.
And a bio teacher.
Oh, right, and then we're adding some stuff at Tohoto as well.
And I think maybe there's some confusion. We would certainly, like, if you ask us to reconsider things, right, we would still have to come back to you to demonstrate that swap we made. We're not just going to arbitrarily do it based on this. We would have to come back to you and say, we're making the following changes, but within this construct, right, you're providing us with the barriers that we have to work within. So I'm, assuming that the two things I've heard is the ELA coach and some of the float nurse, right? We would then go back, work with the administrative team and talk about what that would look like, right? We talked about this is one path to get to this destination. We're still going to the same destination, but we would look at what's an alternative path that adjusts a few things, right? And that's, as much as our experience, district priorities come into play too, right? It's not just about what we think is the most efficient use, but there are priorities. If something's a priority for the community, we want to be able to push for that. We want to be able to work within the construct we're given and make that happen. So it's not just about like, okay, we're going to come to this number and we're going to run off and disappear with a bunch of money. We're going to come back to you and say, here's the plan to get to the same destination, but it's just a different path. Is that right for what we're maybe missing?
On the number that's presented tonight, right? That gives a clear message to the communities what this looks like with that number that we're presenting to you tonight. And then come back and have a meeting, because these might just be some small adjustments that we're making, whether it be the ELA coach. We'll go back and revisit that, looking at the adjustment counts, looking into Paris, see where that can fit. And that might be a quicker meeting that we have. And we've had those meetings. Sometimes we say, okay, you voted on this budget number, but here's what it looks like, the changes we took place here. And we've done some of those meetings sometimes at noon, right, where we had to run that by people as well.
And hopefully you would have a presentation in the drive, everyone looks at it, everyone comes to the meeting knowing what it is and is prepared to say like, you're on the wrong track, I don't agree, and then we'll have an opportunity to veto, right, if we don't agree with the presentation for how you're moving around the positions, or not. You're just gonna move it around and...
I just don't want to come back whenever the time your next meeting is and say, okay, we don't really want that, let's go.
But it would be in the drive early enough before the meeting that we could...
Well, I'm suggesting we figure out what that is now.
I'm fine
and
with that.
then you can, figure out how the numbers are going to work, because
Yes, I think that's what we should do.
I don't want to keep having meeting after meeting after meeting.
Sure.
Where, no, we don't like that version, come back with another version, right? So,
yeah.
Right, I agree. I think we should discuss what we're going to do and then you get the solid numbers and figure it out.
So if we were to cut, let's say we do cut the ELA coach, and we've already got this number approved by the select board in Berlin, does that would then open up for some of these cuts to be added back in?
That, it sounds like it would be a lower number in Berlin, and then money to add towards the adjustment counselor. Regardless of what we're not talking exact figures, Aaron, but
Yeah.
just the idea of cutting the ELA coach, it's split between the elementary schools, right? So a portion of that.
What is the split for that?
It's about
Yeah, like-
65-35 right,
Roughly,
Aaron?
yeah. Roughly 60-30, right? Yeah, so the Berlin assessment would drop.
Mm-hmm.
The Boylston wouldn't drop because we're just reallocating that money to another position over there.
The money wouldn't change.
So that would be a second budget.
You could add back in one of your pairs in Berlin if you wanted to.
Whatever the.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, so
At BMS.
if we cut the ELA coach, then that opens up some of the money that they wouldn't have to cut in at BMS.
BMS, So may I ask questions? So obviously, we're not a curriculum person, we're not a principal, and I know when you were given more money back, supposedly, that you chose tutors, like one-on-one. So I'm wondering, you were operating under the assumption that the ELA coach was something we 100% wanted at the detriment of other positions. So if you, hypothetically, if you eliminated that assumption, what are your feelings? Do you feel like an ELA coach would make more impact than paras or more hours of adjustment counselor, or?
I need to ask it, Rob, because it would be impacted mostly.
BES is what it is.
Yeah, BES, Lisa.
Or Lisa, because you're the coach.
John, you want to say something, it looks like?
You just have to remember, be careful, that the changes you're considering at BES impact negatively the changes that we'd like to see in Berlin. And I'll add this. You've heard me say this for 13 years. The most important thing we do as elementary educators is teach children to read. The most essential addition to this budget, bar none, is that coaching position. Coaches aren't tutors. Coaches aren't administrators. Coaches are people who come in and push you to get that extra 2%, that little trick that you might not know, to take your kid's success from here to here. They're the people who are going to hold us accountable. Yeah, we're getting a fabulous superintendent. That's a current one, so I'm saying. Great new guy. I was excited just to meet him in person. But he is not going to have the time to coach. He's going to expect that person to be there because we have to do better for children. Our whole strategic plan starts with, we do what's in the best interest of children, and I guess we have to insert the word all, not just some. You're right, this stinks for, and Rob and I have talked about this stinks for Boylston. These are tough cuts. But you have to think big picture. And you have to think long term. To your point, you're absolutely right. We need time to get people to a place where they can do a proper approach to a 2.5 override. And they're not very popular. But to accept mediocrity, to hire more paras, I think is a terrible mistake. At least for my school.
But can I just ask a question?
Of course.
If a kid doesn't want to go to school, how are they going to learn how to read? Or if the kindergarten teacher is cleaning up a kid who pooped his pants, because that happened to me with Mrs. Pasquale one day, because there's no para in the room and I was a volunteer in there, then what's happening to the other 20 kids in the class because they don't have a helper in there? So I guess I totally agree with you, but if we don't have our bare bones minimums that we need so that the actual teacher can function or the actual child can function, does some of that high-level stuff even matter at that point? I don't know. I'm not an educator.
There's other
I'm just
adults
asking.
than that. Like, there's one-on-one, there's other adults. I've been in a kindergarten classroom, and sometimes there's more adults than children. Like, there's one-to-ones in there, right?
My kids didn't have kindergarten aides.
Now, you had no one-to-one aides in the whole classroom?
And yeah, there was no one.
No.
The
They had volunteers come in at BES.
The kindergarten aides weren't a thing until just a couple
It
years
was
ago.
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
My
Jackie,
kids
right?
did
Not the
have
classroom,
kindergarten.
for the student.
No, I'm
So,
talking
Megan-
about the classroom.
Take the emotion out of this decision,
I have
right?
no emotion out of it. This
That
doesn't
whole
affect.
speech was emotion, about pooping pants, okay?
Well, no, because I mean, our kids are beyond that.
My kids are
So-
beyond that.
I
I have
understand.
absolutely no, my kids don't even go to the
What
adjustment
we're
counselor. I have
telling, based on what John
zero
just said, what we're
emotional
telling
attachment to
him
this.
is that we don't think they made these cuts with the best interest of children in mind. We think that we can do better for the children. Is that what we're saying?
No,
I'm not
I'm
saying
asking
that.
for clarification that they were operating under the assumption that those were non-negotiables.
That's
The bio
a
teacher
fair
training-
question, that is
That's
a fair
exactly what
question.
we
It's
hope.
something we added in, like,
That's
she's
fair.
asking,
Right.
like, did you agree with us adding it in? Like, that's a fair
Right,
question
because
to
we added
ask.
that in, and again, when we, at least I know when I did that, I thought we were meeting in 2 weeks, and I assumed we were actually gonna take it out, or one of, like Al said,
If
one
you
of the
assume
towns
we
is
were,
gonna come back.
that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You didn't even let me finish, Mike.
You assumed we were
No.
gonna take something out 2 weeks after we voted.
You didn't let me finish, or that, because the town was gonna have some more money, or we were gonna move things around.
The town told us in December they had $500,000.
Yes, we're also voting on the ceiling, so we wanted to
They
come
weren't
back
too
and
happy
have
about
a
that
further
comment, by the
discussion.
way. Oh, they also
Ceiling?
wanted to, yes, our ceiling budget,
Let's
that
take the-
comment that we made.
Okay,
Temperature down.
okay.
John,
I just, a suggestion if the chair will entertain it,
maybe. Go ahead.
maybe a 5-minute bathroom break?
Yes, good idea.
You want to do that? All right, let's
Yes.
do that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Now we're really going to push on this.
Oh, joining me?
Yes.
All right. We'll tag team this.
Bailey's going to give us some suggestions on the budget. There we go.
I believe you.
Joe, we good? Good. All good? All right, so we'll come back to our meeting. Thanks, John, for suggesting a nice little break for everybody. Appreciate it.
I need a cookie.
Glad you got your cookie. Al, you have something real
So
quick?
I just want to introduce you to Bailey, and I know she was on the agenda, Bailey McNamara. She's for the Tohoto Food Pantry, and I know she was running late because you were aware. You were.
I'm on game.
But go ahead, I know you want to speak to school committee.
I just want to say thank you for your approval and support, and I'm sorry I was late. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. It's really important to us.
Thanks, Bailey.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for waiting. So, wait a minute, Bailey, don't sit down just yet, sorry. So, can we just remember why we're doing this work we're doing here, right? I know the emotions are running high and people, but this is it, right? Let's not forget about our students, right? The Baileys and everyone else that's in this school district, right? This is the reason why we're here every single month doing the work we do. And I know it's not easy work. You guys are all volunteer. I appreciate the work you guys are all doing. It's all volunteer work, but this is the reason why. So let's try to remember that when we're doing this budget conversation.
And Bailey does a really nice job. This is not just a food pantry. She had something set up at the basketball games for Morgan's message.
Yeah.
She is very involved. She follows through with things. It's really nice to see a self-starter doing all these stuff at the school. Thank you.
Thanks, Bailey.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we currently have a motion on the table for the budget number. Al, the committee seems like they want you to revisit the individual line items, but I don't know if anybody wants to go above this budget number, below this budget number.
So can I make a recommendation that you vote this budget number that's here with the direction that we will go back and look at this ELA coach with everybody here and see what that looks like if we were able, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'm going the direction. If you had possibly an ELA coach at this point at Berlin, right, just putting it in Berlin and working there, and what that would look like for having a part-time ELA position, right, and there are people that are out there that would do this work, supporting us, and maybe not be there in Boylston, but be able to revisit whether it be the paras or the adjustment counselor at Boylston based on that FTE and having a 0.5 only of the ELA coach. Does that make sense? And we got to look at those numbers. Let us have a day to look at this. Maybe we could do a meeting on Friday in a quick turnaround, so you guys, and we'll get it into the drive to you. It shouldn't be hard for us to do, even if we do it on Zoom, that we can publicly put out there to everybody. Everyone can take a look at that, changes we make. There'll only be changes in those two things. See what the numbers look like, and therefore then we can really get this thing so we can then make decisions, and so people can make decisions, whether we're gonna do some hiring, or people are gonna start looking elsewhere. Because it's gonna be really hard to keep people when they're working 0.5s and 0.6. They're gonna go somewhere else where they can work full-time. So that's my recommendation to you.
I agree that we should just vote on this number, but this might be the time for me to bring this up. I just have this burning question, because we keep dancing around maybe not being a one-to-one at the elementary level, and haven't considered that, and if we did, it seems like it would have a big impact on the budget.
Third grade.
A lot of those costs right now sit in capital. That's the big device replacement numbers sit in capital. So it would be hard in the short term. I think we could do some long-range planning around that. I don't think it would change anything in the immediate this year budget, but as we go forward, we absolutely could look at that.
Didn't we take 20,000 out from operating?
How does that line item?
Well, so we've already, so there's only, in terms of like replacement and repairs and things like that, which happen quite a lot. We've stripped that down from 25,000 to 5,000 at Boylston Elementary. I'd be really hesitant to cut that further. There's not really much to give there. It's, again, I try to go through every line trying to do that needs-based approach. What have we used every year? What makes sense for coming years? And then we had to do this with cuts in mind, right? And that's what we did. We doubled down on that cut. We originally pulled $10,000 out of Berlin Memorial, $10,000 out of Boylston Elementary, and $10,000 out of Tohoto. And then because of these cuts, we said, let's just double down on Boylston Elementary. And if that means they can't be one-to-one, that may be the nature of the beast. The other reality is the nature of our district. We operate as 3 districts, not 1. If in a normal regional district, we would share devices across the district. Because of the way we operate and sort of the financials of our regional agreement, we don't share devices across the district. So, we have to plan for, I've talked about the law of big numbers, the law of small numbers, right? When you're operating as one big district, I would put all that money into a pool, and we might be able to cut that a little bit more as a pooled number. But if we're having to do those individually, it's really hard for us to say we're going to cut those. And right now, as we talk about this, right, Berlin's not going to give up that number to take care of Boylston, right? There's always those conversations about we don't want our tax dollars going to pay kids from here or here. And that's where we end up stuck a lot, is instead of treating this like a true region where we could be looking at some of those efficiencies of scale, we can't because of the way that's interpreted, right? I wish it were other, and there can be conversations about looking at the regional agreement and conversations about how people see things as well, right? Like, we've decided collectively that we are one regional school district and we educate our kids together collectively. But the choice has been made through the regional agreement that we're not really doing that. Al says it a lot. We're not one district, we're a collection of districts.
We're a district of schools, not a school district. So I'm going to appreciate Lisa. My direction, I think, I want to make sure I'm going to be looking at the ELA coach, maybe going from a 1.0 to a 0.5, where the 0.5 would possibly just be at Berlin, working obviously with my curriculum director and our new superintendent. I'm taking risks there, to John's point, educationally, looking at that nurse that was a 1.0 and possibly, when it was a 0.4 before, we brought it up to a 1.0, there's a risk there that will maybe add 1 more day or 2 more days. And then looking at the adjustment counselor, maybe we can add some time in there as well too. So if we have that sort of narrowed down, looking at the ELA coach, nurse, the adjustment counselor, we can work on that in the next day or so.
And 1 more kindergarten para, I think, in Boylston.
Do you want to number these? Do you want to number those 3 things? And, because I feel like that number is not going to get you there, but if you want to order them, what your
Please,
priority
go ahead.
is, and
Yep.
then give him direction, so you can,
You're cutting the ELA coach, which we put in there at 90, you're cutting to 0.5. So that's you're saving 45, right?
Oh, wait a minute, but what's in there for Boylston now is probably like 0.6.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah,
saving.
so it's right
so
now at
it's-
0.6, 0.4.
So you're looking at
So
saving
54,000,
30,000.
36,000.
Roughly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Roughly 30,
Yeah.
0.6.
0.6 in Boylston, so you're saving.
And you're eliminating that 0.6 from Boylston, right? So that's, whatever the number is,
It's like 48.
So I really want us to be careful doing it this way publicly, right? But
well,
we'll do.
we're not looking to firm you up.
About
Yeah, estimate.
54,000 of
All right,
savings for
54.
that. I don't know what the
adjustment
flow.
council number that's on this budget right now is 47, all right? The nurses, I don't know what the nurse was, 0.2 from that, and you want to add in.
1K para,
Which is
at
what,
least.
25, 30, roughly, not getting exact numbers,
Yeah.
right?
If you could get back at least 1K para
Okay.
and.
So
that's-
to Ben's point, can we just prioritize this for me? So the first thing would be looking at making the adjustments with the ELA coach, right? But the hopes of, in making the adjustment for the nurses, and that would be looking at the para or the adjustment counselors? What are we looking at bringing back?
It would be both.
I think you need I think you need to have your priorities, and then Rob has to say what his priorities are, because he is the admin. He is the person that really should be deciding, but if you want to point him in a direction, I think we need to be, I don't think the math is mathing for
Yeah, but then again, if the decision with admin is that the ELA coach at the elementary school is more monumental than other things, then maybe taking the 0.2 away from the nurse can give 0.2 to the.
I think we've heard from the admin that the ELA is monumental.
We heard from BMS.
No, we heard from the entire administration team by putting it under the priority 1 number, and then we discussed it on March 10th as a school committee priority.
March 10th, right, but they didn't know we were cutting things from their
No,
standard.
they didn't, but, well, we did know that there were gonna have to be cuts. You even said that the
But we didn't
override's not
know,
gonna pass that.
they
We
didn't know.
the number of cuts, right?
Or specifically what they were going to cut.
So let's talk to Rob. I'm being respectful of Rob, not putting him on the spot, because he's not making his decision in isolation, right? He's talking to his staff, he's getting input from his teachers and making the decisions about what he needs to look at in terms of the adjustment councils and the paras as well too. So that's a conversation that needs to happen. Let us work with this. Let us work with the conversation with Boylston as well as Berlin, and we can get back to you in the next couple of days. We can schedule a school committee meeting on Friday, right? We can pull that off, and not Friday afternoon. I know I wouldn't do that to you on the volunteer schedule you guys are at, but maybe a new time, and we can get that out there, make the final decisions. But the number we're voting on will be that number. We just got some play with the ELA coach, nurse, para, and adjustment council.
Yes.
All right.
That work for everybody?
Yeah, even adjustment counts at 0.6, that would be 3 days of the week,
Fair enough.
hypothetically.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna look at. Might not be able, so we can't bring them all back, right? Because the math doesn't work to best point, but let us have some conversations. And by the way, our admin team is willing to have any conversations, but they also want to be respectful to the process they have to go through talking to their staffs as well too. So I don't want you to think by being quiet, they're just waiting to.
No, and I don't feel like if the collective feels the ELA coach would be more effective at BES, I don't want them to feel like they have to get rid of that for others. So like, I want the educators to make the decisions.
And thoughtful decisions, right? So we have some time.
As it always
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
but you're operating under the assumption that those were non-negotiables.
We were thinking that's what you wanted on top of that as well.
We also haven't really discussed it, but we got multiple emails today, some from educators at the school, and we heard from multiple educators here tonight that were in favor of keeping the adjustment counselor. So I don't know if in favor of the adjustment counselor over the reading specialist.
Right,
but-
they're in favor, I assume, I didn't hear anyone offer something in lieu of, so I don't want to jump that far ahead of it.
And what I don't want to do, and I'm being respectful to you guys about it, I don't want to start all of us getting a million emails. We're supporting the adjustment count. No, we're supporting the kindergarten paras, because that doesn't put us it's an even more difficult decision, right? It's not, these are all tough cuts we have to make, but we have to make something that are in the best interest of our kids.
And this is being voted in the hypothetical assumption that we're going to be working towards a 2.5 prop override for fiscal year after this, and hopefully reinstating.
Getting back what's been lost.
And Christine's message is right. There's this whole message that's out there of people saying it's never going to pass, it's not going to pass. I heard it here, I heard it at the town meetings. We have to change that mindset. There's a reason why we have to do this work, to make sure it does pass.
Yeah, 2 years ago it did, right? We got the support and we pushed the limit that the towns gave us.
The landscape is changing.
It absolutely is. There
It's
was a
becoming more
huge increase
typical.
in Boylston last year, so this would not be the year I feel that override would pass, but perhaps next year with,
And we have to look at all these priorities these principals and directors put in. All of them should be in place. If we want to be a competitive school district where new families are looking at us and going through Aaron's last slide, Zillow, right, and they're deciding where they want to move to, it really is based on how well the schools are doing. We know that, right? The majority of you moved here because of the school system that you're in. My oldest is doing that as we speak, right? He's looking at home, the next conversation will be, what's the school district like that, right? So that's what we do. So we have to make sure our school districts are being successful.
Agreed.
All right. So this is a budget vote, so we'll do a roll call vote. Lisa? Wait, is there?
Were we going to amend the motion, or we're going to vote the number?
We're voting the number. If you want to change the number,
I do not want to change the number.
But what
With the
about-
caveat that we're meeting on what, Friday? All right, do we need to put that in the motion is the question.
I don't think we need to put that in the budget motion. They know it's gonna happen, we know it's gonna happen.
For purpose of the budget, we don't need to, but, you know, and this school committee can acknowledge the direction separately, that's fine.
It was difficult not having a meeting 2 weeks after when we thought we were, so that's just kind of my motivation for putting in an amendment.
So
that we're all operating on.
I understand that it was tough there, Jess. Had we had that meeting, it all would have been wasted because the number changed 15 times between then and now. Lisa's like nodding her head like crazy. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that this is so very complicated because we didn't have numbers. We didn't have numbers. We didn't actually have a number until this morning from Boylston. So we were working on assumptions of non-reality. And I think that that is such an important thing. So in order for us to, it keeps resonating. Christina said, we keep saying we can work within the budget, that the towns are telling us what our number is. It doesn't work anymore. It does not work anymore. And that is as plain as day. And you know what? Everybody has to feel a little pain in order for the towns to understand that we need more money. That is what is happening because they think that we can make do. They think we're lying or whatever they think. But they're giving us these numbers at the very last minute and say, work with it. Well, there's nothing to work with. If we don't do that, we're cutting a teacher. We're cutting a 5th grade teacher. So then now at 5th grade, you have 33 or 35 in a class. Or we're cutting a 2nd grade teacher. I mean, what have you. There is nothing to cut at Boylston. Nothing. Or at Berlin. Or at Tohoto. And really at Central, there is nothing to cut because I talk to people all the time and I'm filling out grant applications and they're saying, so list the members of your team. Me. This is the team. This is the team. So I think we really have to understand that this is no longer acceptable and the towns have to understand that. And it's painful. This is painful. But it's not going to change if it's not painful because they're going to continue to think that we can make do. And we can't.
Bending ourselves into a pretzel is not going to suit our case for next year. So be careful of how much bending you want to do right now.
And I think that the problem also is we have to go a little higher to the state level.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, we do have to. And I think, I know in Boylston, they did a good job of that in previous years where we got some grants and some funding for specific projects. I don't, so yes, I agree with you, Lisa, we need to
100%. Change some of the priorities at the state level.
Yeah, and maybe the school committee, instead of having, maybe we have a subcommittee for that, and we as a school committee change some of our priorities, and that's something we can do.
It's the unfunded mandates. So that's where you need to re-talk
Yeah.
into your representatives and your senators, because those are the things that we're not even talking about here, that we have to pay for. Right. Okay.
All right, any final thoughts? We cut, to Lisa's point, we cut 3 gallons of paint. I mean, that's what we're looking for money on the couch cushions, $500.
So, but we make this vote tonight and there's no going back.
Correct.
Are we
You
going to
can't go
amend
higher, you can go lower.
Right.
the language? Are we going to amend the language to acknowledge a Friday? I'm not good at that if Jessica.
Sure, if someone would like to make an amendment
Yes,
to that.
Jessica, I
sure.
agree with you.
I'd like to amend the motion, same words, I'm not going to repeat all
Aaron,
that.
just pull back up that motion, Aaron.
It's the same.
Sorry, I didn't see it, sorry.
Excuse me, we have to be aware.
Is it going to be an open meeting law violation if we have it Friday at noon because it's not going to be posted 48 hours?
Today's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Thank you.
Nice try,
It's
Chad.
been a long day. It's been a long day. It feels like Wednesday.
Yeah, Jess, you want to go with your amendment? Just amend the motion on the table,
Yes,
please.
amend the motion on the floor with, with the understanding that certain items we looked at again, and the committee will meet again on Friday, April 10th at noon via Zoom to discuss the specifics.
Final specifics.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Beth? All right, any questions on the motion? All in favor of the amendment to the motion?
Aye.
All right, anyone against? Okay, the original motion is amended. Any final thoughts on that? This is a budget number, so we'll do a roll call. Lisa?
Aye.
Jackie?
Jackie, are you aye?
Jackie?
Jackie?
I know, I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. Beth?
Aye.
All right. Jess?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
All right, I'm against this budget, so I'm a no, but the motion passes 5-1. All right. The next item on the agenda is,
Yeah, we vote the capital rollovers.
oh, yeah, you want to do that?
Just need to be one motion, roll over each of those.
Got a motion, please, to approve the rollover of the following budgets, fiscal year 27 as follows. The BES playground equipment, $30,000. BMS replace elevator controls, $192,000.
So moved.
Beth?
Second?
Lisa? Any questions on that? All right, Lisa?
Aye.
Jackie? Beth?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Megan? All right, I agree on that as well. Thank you. That motion passes, Aaron. Okay.
Thank you all. Thanks, Aaron.
All right. The consent agenda is next on the list. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda is listed.
So moved.
Beth?
Second?
Jess? Any questions on the consent agenda? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against that? All right. I don't have anything to report. Matt Dowd is not here. So Al, you're next.
So let's talk about school choice. Can you put that up there for me? Yep. Joe? So this is conversations with principals and directors for school choice numbers for next year. Let's do Boylston first, if we could put that one up there. Right now, we're not recommending any school choice students at Boylston Elementary. In light of the cuts that we're making district at that school, we don't feel it's appropriate to be.
It's under superintendent.
Thank you. You want Boylston first, please? So, yeah, so Lisa, you want to show, well, before we even go on to Lisa, you'll do Berlin. So we're not recommending anything in Boston right now. Not in light of cutting kindergarten, paras, adjustment counselors, cutting those positions we have. We're not making any choices, any recommendations for school choice right now. For Berlin, if we could go to that. Lisa, you want to just show a little bit how we set this up so people aren't confused on the way it looks for me, please?
So this column shows current resident students in each grade level. And this column shows current school choice in that grade level. Together, that makes for the total enrollment of that projected total enrollment for the
Next year.
Yeah, next year.
It doesn't.
Yeah, that doesn't add up.
Or it's, okay, so did we change
Joe
to
doesn't have the right one on there.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, because it should be.
It's all that's in the drive.
Yeah,
because
it's in the
PTA
drive,
should
it's
be-
in the drive.
No, that's the one in the
This is
drive.
the one from the drive.
It's from the drive.
That was.
Did we send the new one to the school committee? We did?
This is updated.
Is there an updated one?
This is the most updated one that I saw.
Yep.
It looked, yes.
So Joe, do we have the most current one on you? So
This is the download from,
I know, but Jen, can you send Joe the most current one so we can put that up on the screen?
So the one in the drive is wrong.
Should we look at Tohoto first, maybe?
Yeah, let's look at Tohoto, yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
Because Tohoto, we've got that. Okay, so for Tohoto, so we have current resident in 6th grade are 90. Current school choice is 2, so a total of 92. So the projected total enrollment would, for these 6th graders moving into 7th grade is 92. So what we are projecting for...
We're recommending in that grade, if you follow that chart, right?
Yep, so recommending, so these actually for school choice would be the, 2 coming in
Fifth grade
for,
coming into 6th.
into 6th grade. So a total of 86 students going into, so this number is a combination of the 5th grade students that are coming from Berlin and Boylston 5th grade. Okay, and we're suggesting that that projection would be 84, so a recommended school choice number of 2 to bring it to 86. For 7th grade, we have currently 72 residents, 6 current school choice. That brings us to a projected enrollment in our 8th grade class to 78. And so we are suggesting 2 school choice numbers to bring that to a total of 80. And 8th grade, 83 residents, 7 school choice students currently. That gives us 90 moving into 9th grade. And we're saying no school choice for that because 90 is, that's a bump. That's a big number. For 10th grade, 66 plus 7 gives us 70, 9th grade, 52 and 10 gives us 62 going into the 10th grade, saying that we'll bump that up to 4 to 66. In 11th grade, or for the current 10th grade going into 11th, 66 and 7 gives us 73, saying we'll recommend 1 school choice with a total for that grade at 74. And then we have 60 residents, 11 school choice in our current 11th grade that will be going into 12th grade, giving us 71. No school choice there. We rarely, if ever, recommend school choice numbers for 12th grade. Currently, of our 74 seniors, we have 61 residents and 13 school choice people.
So 13 kids, 13 school choice students will be graduating from Tohoto this year.
So we're recommending 9 school choice spots at incoming 6th. Next year's 8th grade, next year's 10th grade, and next year's 11th grade.
We've tried a couple different ways trying to present this stuff. It's clear.
I tried to make a chart last year, it's a nightmare.
I know,
Trying to,
it really
move
is.
Between I sympathize.
So we tried the best, so that's why Lisa was explaining the way it was so people have an understanding of how we.
Right, because you want to have an understanding of the current residents, the current school choice, and then what that is going to be for the following year to recommend what we should open up.
So that is for Tohoto. Those are the recommendations from the administration at Tohoto for school choice for next year in the grades that they offer.
And so when kids leave 8th to 9th grade, that could be always revisited. Those
So
could be open.
now, can we confirm that? So if the kids that are in 8th grade that are going to 9th grade, there are 7 school choice kids. If of those 7 school choice kids, 4 of them decide to go to St. John's, does that make 4 school choice spots open up for that
Yes.
grade?
Yes.
So there is more flexibility in these numbers, and the fact that if we lose school choice kids, our budget is based off of assuming that there's a certain amount of school choice. We have the flexibility to open up spots when that happens.
These are added spots, and I think that's the confusing part.
Yeah.
If there are current school choice people that exist, we will always say, okay, we have a school choice spot available because it exists, it currently exists. What we vote on each year are additional spots.
And we have to maintain what you're saying, Beth, because the financial part of that, right? We're counting on those school choice and the money coming in
So
from that.
people should, whether they see that we're adding spots or not, they should continue to apply because you don't know if kids are moving out.
100%.
Lee, I just have one quick question.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit, so is the guest of the superintendent, is that something different? Did we change? So is that
Sure.
included in these numbers, or are
It is
there other
not.
kids that?
So it's two separate things.
Okay.
So school choice goes through the process, and then it goes through the Department of Education, goes through all of Aaron's office and Aaron's world. Guests of the superintendent are employees that work for our district.
Yeah.
And whether it be a teacher, administrator, or the union has asked me also, and I haven't had a chance to talk to the school committee yet, even paras are looking to say, listen, we would like to be guests of superintendent, so if our kids, we work here, we'd like our kids to attend it. That's a really good thing. We want to promote that, right? People that can come to work here and bring their kids here as well too. But that, we put that in the language through the union, and we put it as guests of the superintendent.
So that's separate, so if there's like a teacher or something, they don't have to go through that
Don't have to go
process?
through that,
They go, this is just for,
That's right.
But I think it's a worthwhile note that we cannot collect tuition from guests of the superintendent.
No.
okay, right, thank
So
you.
this is our only means of collecting.
And that was a little muddy before, so that's why.
Yes, that's why I
it was.
asked for
There was some
clarification.
confusion about
So we put the guest of superintendent as in the teacher's contract, yes.
That's what I thought, I just wanted clarification. Okay, thank you.
And at some point, I don't know if this goes through policy or if what this is, but can we have a conversation about siblings?
Absolutely.
Prioritizing siblings, because I think there's nothing better than getting an entire family there that's an engaged family. I think we really need to find a way to start. I don't know if that's a policy or not.
There's multiple things we need to look at, like Aaron will give me a hard time about this, but in Hampton Wilburn, we did twins, right? So if one person got in, because through school choice, we also took their sibling as well too, as a twin, right? So there's ways that you really need to be looking at school choice as a school committee deciding, working with the administration, obviously, but looking to see like family members. So if a family, if Mike gets in for a school choice, then does his sibling get to come in, or do they have to go through the school choice policy? So that's stuff that we really need to talk to you guys about.
But there's also, it has to be the lottery too, so there's the legality of that too, right?
But there is a clause in the school choice from the state that says that you can prioritize siblings.
Before you go to the big lottery. But again, school choice is always a blind spot, right?
If
So
there's a
this-
spot, because like some of those classes are big. 92, 7.
You can look at middle school and say that's big, but you know that they're going to leave.
So that's what we're recommending right now, 2, 4, and 1. 9 students total for Tohoto for school choice.
We're
Questions?
not recommending for 92.
What's that?
And so we're not recommending spots for that 92.
No, I know, I meant
No.
like if there's a sibling that wanted to get into a big class like that, we'd have to, when we discuss that, we'd have to talk about how we would handle something like that.
Well, if it was a big class, you wouldn't be recommending spot. It's a sibling if there's a spot
Oh.
available,
Gotta be a spot.
not to make a spot for a sibling.
Oh, I see.
It's
Goes back to-
Prioritizing for open
It's
spots.
not guaranteed.
It goes
a
back to
spot.
what Jessica just said, right? We still
Okay.
have to go through that process.
Does anybody like the numbers? Want to change the numbers?
I think they're fine.
Everyone good?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Shall we vote by school?
I have some questions just for the committee. So as a district, what's our goal for taking the school choice? What's the goal that we want to accomplish with taking school choice?
There was a document in the drive explaining the pearls. I don't know who wrote that document.
So what are they? What are the goals?
Generates revenue for the district.
Okay.
With little to no cost, so you have to figure out, is it, they're not taking up, there's no, as they call it, variable cost to adding the kids. It's
So
just
cash flow.
Yeah.
But it's also culture, if there's a decrease in
Provides
kids,
diversity.
there's culture, growing up here, there was school choice kids, and they added to the culture of the school. And yes, you cannot guarantee that, but they participated in band and the theater shows and
So that's
sports.
the argument that I've heard ever since
Yeah.
I've been here, right? So if we
Yes.
didn't have school choice, we wouldn't be able to have certain things, activities, clubs, extras. Is that the case? I'm trying to make an argument to add a lot more.
We also have
Yeah, I mean,
capacity,
I'm
right?
looking
So-
at these numbers.
And if we do add any school choice over zero, so far, we've just sort of had it as a savings fund that we use here and there, like we had this whole conversation tonight about how school choice is being used, right? Should we not look at this, if we're doing it, as Megan says, as just cash flow, a revenue generator, right? It's like we're basically becoming a for-profit entity, like we're taking in seats to generate cash to offset the budget. Should we not have a plan for that money, how we're gonna use that money? Should we not have a goal? Or should we just say, we're just gonna keep it in a fund for offsets against the budget, like Aaron had today?
So
I imagine it's part of our
is what
strategic
you're,
plan.
is what you're
Talking
getting at,
about
that we should, I agree, we should have, instead of just accruing it and then saying, well, why don't you use your school choice funds to offset the operating budget? It's not a bad idea to have a plan for
Because the goal, when we first,
using it.
the goal from 5-6 years ago was you need to improve the culture to get kids to stop leaving in 9th grade, right? And then the conversation is, well, there's always going to be a certain number who just want to leave for legacy issues or whatever issues, right? Their parents went to a certain school, so they want to go to that school. But there are other kids who want to leave. We saw the exit data from a couple of years ago. They want to leave because they didn't feel like they were getting a good education. And I don't know how tonight's budget conversation is going to affect that, but the goal was to get to a point where we didn't lose kids for culture things, right? Sports, things like that, right? So we talked about this last year, right? Setting up a plan. So what is the plan? What is the goal for school choice? Because we want to add 10 to 6th grade, 2 to 8th grade. We're still coming up with different numbers in those classes, right? Like 86 versus 80 versus 92. Do we maybe want to set a number? 90, I think, is the number Julie threw out, right? A couple years ago, right? Like we're at 92 with one class, so we wouldn't do any there. We're at 90 with another class. But 66, right, in 10th grade, why not add 10 or 15 to that spot? And then we can take that money, offset some future project at the building, right? Because that's $75,000 a year for, 3 more years. If we're looking at school choice simply as a revenue generator, let's crank it up.
Is there a reason why that number for 10th grade is?
That number is low because we had to cut a biology teacher last year, so they couldn't afford to have more kids in the class
No, but I'm
last
saying,
year.
Is the reason that we're only recommending 4, is there a reason for that? Like, are there more needs for that grade, or?
So
I think Rich had his.
Yeah,
Rich, gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. The 9th grade class is, we kind of refer to it as our bubble. We have students that need a lot more support, so we need to do a lot more specialized classes. Sometimes it requires smaller classes to be more successful. And on the other end of that too, we have a lot of gifted students in that class that we are building AP tracks for. So there's just a lot more moving pieces. We even knew that number existed last year. We were very hesitant to add anything to it just because of all those moving pieces.
They're like the outlier class.
Correct.
That's a current 9th grade, you're saying, that is a total of 62?
Correct.
And to add to that, I mean, we do have to be mindful of staffing and also, understanding these numbers are made very proactively and thoughtfully in that we know what classes are being offered at the freshman level, at the sophomore level, the junior level to understand how many chemistry sections will we need to offer, and does that chemistry teacher need to teach a section of biology, or does the physics teacher? So I know Rich has been hard at work with the team at Tohoto working on scheduling, and I think with understanding the section numbers and what will be available, we look at these numbers, and even though they don't seem consistent, they match with the staff because we are always tweaking, you know, how many sections of this are going to be offered, how many sections of this are be offered. Math and English are two important subjects where we have to make sure all kids get the right fit for those. And so.
But also for our lab classes, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's only so many seats sitting at the lab that kids are
Right.
safe, right?
24.
So we have to make sure of that, right? I was just talking to a colleague of mine who was telling me that, you know, he has labs that because of the schedule not being appropriate, that they have sometimes more kids that are sitting in that lab than they even have lab seats, right? So there's a whole safety component of that as well too. So all of that is taken into account when we're recommending that number there, depending on the grade. Also, that 9th grade, appreciate Rich and I have had the conversation with Alicia as well too, that we're still COVID. We're still dealing with a lot of the situation that those kids were at those ages. If you do the math and go back from COVID, you'll see where those kids landed.
3rd grade, that's a pivotal year on them.
3rd grade, yeah.
So the 9th grade, 52 residents, 10 recommending adding 4. So 14 out of 66 kids in that grade will be school choice. So that's like 22% of that class is not a resident of Berlin or Boylston. That's a lot.
So hopefully with our strategic plan and then development of pathways, so perhaps that could be considered for school choice funds, creation of pathways and the one-time capital improvements to create those equipment, so.
I think it's a really good point that Mike and Beth are making. Instead of, there are some districts on the western part of the state, that's the only way they operate, school choice, all day long. We need the money to exist and survive. That's what gets these districts sometimes in trouble. Not only that, but you're stealing from one to the other. Like we as superintendents just say, in the western part of the state, you're taking my kids, that's help killing my budget, but helping yours. But if you have a goal or a mission that, through a strategic plan, that you're going to use this funding for as a source of revenue, great way to be looking at that.
Anybody else have anything to say? We want to go by school?
It'd be great if you could.
All right.
You haven't seen Berlin yet? No, we
we
just
didn't.
going to Tohoto now. Yep.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the recommended school choice seats at Tohoto at 9?
So moved.
Jackie?
Second.
Jess? All right, any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? I'm against it. So that motion passes 5-1. All right.
Can we do Berlin next,
Yeah.
Joe? Can you put that up for me, please? Apologize, we made some changes. So we had these numbers earlier. We were focusing so much on the budget that we realized on our agenda today we had to get some school choice things. So it's using that same philosophy in terms of creating this chart that Lisa explained to you. Those are the recommendations that we're looking at for Berlin Memorial. Total of 4 students that were open spots, I should say, for school choice. Anyone need Lisa to come up and do that again?
Should we hold off on this one until we have our conversation on Friday? Since we're not recommending any in Boylston because of cuts. We don't necessarily know what positions are going to be cut. Should we hold off on this one?
I
For the
know we're
same
done with the
philosophy?
Berlin budget.
What's that?
We're not changing the Berlin number.
Not the number, but we could be possibly changing line items if it goes the way that they've been
I
instructed.
don't think we authorized them to do anything except the ELA coach.
We said a point, yeah, their point for ELA coach stays with Berlin. Nothing changes in Berlin.
So nothing's going to change the Berlin number?
Our hope and the direction we're at is we're not looking at Berlin right now.
And you're confident you can find a part-time ELA coach?
I have no idea, but as soon as you guys vote on this on Friday, that'll be the first thing that Lisa and I sit down and do is put a job posting out there.
All right. Does anybody want to make a change or suggest anything? All right, can I have a motion, please, to add 4 school choice seats to Berlin Memorial?
So moved.
Beth, Lisa, second. All right, anything on that? All right, all in favor? Yeah.
To Boylston, oh, sorry, you got Berlin.
Do you want to say something about Berlin?
No, I'm good about Berlin. I thought we were moving on to Boylston.
I haven't voted yet.
I'm not trying to rush you, sorry.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? I'm against it. Motion passes 5-1. All right. Was,
So I don't know if you really need to vote on Boylston, if you could just, we're not recommending anything at this time, right? In lieu of everything that's happening, right, and cuts that are happening there, we're not making any recommendations for school choice at this point.
Does anyone want to change that recommendation, make a motion? Okay, all right.
Do you need to vote on that?
Nobody made a motion, so there's nothing to vote on.
Do
Okay.
you want a motion to vote on zero, Al? Is that what you're
You
asking
know
for?
what, I think I probably would just to vote,
Like to
yeah.
not
to
All right,
the way it is.
someone make a motion to approve 0 school choice seats at Boylston Elementary.
Thank you.
Megan, I heard.
Second.
Beth. Okay, anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm also in favor of that. Motion passes 6-0. All right.
So the next thing on my superintendent's report is the bullying prevention plan and intervention plan. I know Lisa's been working hard on this. I know it's been in your drive. The only thing that we're looking to do is, that's what we should be doing yearly, is update to align with the policy. It's just an FYI. It is our bullying prevention plan. You did have it. If you have any questions, we can certainly answer them for you, but it's really just updating and aligning it to the policy of bullying prevention. Questions on that at all?
Was there any glaring differences between what we had and?
No, I think the difference, if you stop right there, there's any of the items in bold are the ones that were added because they appeared in the policy and were not specifically identified in the plan. So I just made sure that there was an alignment between what was in the policy to be reflected in the plan.
Lisa did a really nice job going through this for us and putting this in place.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Anything else on that?
Nope, that's it.
Anybody have any questions? Would anyone like to make a second public comment about anything on the agenda? Yeah, come on.
Elizabeth Bennett, Berlin Memorial School. Just a thought on the calendar. We always have like parent conferences and then we teach the next day. I was just wondering if you could maybe move the professional development to like that Friday after sitting for hours talking with parents about students and stuff. It's kind of like you're drained. And then the next day it might be nice just maybe to have professional development rather than, oh, let's teach again. I don't know, just a thought. It doesn't affect anything. Or maybe early release and conferences like before Veterans Day. Just something to just think about. That's all. Easy. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Yeah.
Just a couple of things on some of the things that you guys, I'm hoping that you'll think about when you talk about moving things around, right? I'm glad you guys got to a number. You hear things like nurses are expensive and, you know, we can get .8 nurse and all that kind of stuff. I also hear talk about like we want to keep our legal fees down. So you have to kind of like think about, you know, I know you guys want to move things around, but I do want to talk about the nurse. Specifically not having a full-time float nurse. And I've already talked to this. I think it's very important to understand that there are a lot of times in these schools where we do not have a full-time nurse in these buildings, right? And this float nurse would be there to make sure that we have that coverage, right? We've talked about how sub-nurses are probably costing us more money. So having 3 nurses and then having to hire a sub is actually, you know, not as cost-effective. So as far as eliminating the nurse coverage, you're putting yourself in serious legal exposure for the district. We have students with IEPs, 504 plans. Those are legally mandated health services that are written into their plans. I don't know how much, you know, most parents know, but unlicensed staff can't administer insulin. They can't give glucagon. They can't give any injectable medications. So if you don't have a nurse and something happens, like someone has a hypoglycemic emergency, the district legally has nobody who can treat that if there's no nurse here. That's literally a federal civil rights violation. A single, and this is Massachusetts statistics, a single medical incident involving a student with a known condition can cost a district $100,000. That's according to the Mass Tort Claims Act, plus any legal defense costs. And then a single contested special education case stemming from failure to implement nursing services can cost $150,000. The cost of a full-time nurse is a fraction of that legal exposure that we have. So I just want everybody to think about that when we're talking about moving things around and taking nurses out and having .8 nurse. We all know there's no way we're going to get .8 of a nurse. People want a full-time job. They need it. We're in a bad economy right now. Everybody needs a full-time job. Maybe 1.5. The ELA coach, I think specifically for that, and I had talked to some of the teachers that were here tonight, and I feel like we're bringing in someone, a superintendent who has a lot of expertise. I know we talked about him affording his expertise and maybe doing professional development, but just in general, I feel like if we're bringing someone in like that, you'd want them to be part of the conversation possibly and plan to hire someone like that as opposed to potentially bringing someone on board. He's going to take 6 months to get ramped up, and by that time we haven't even really utilized the ELA coach or had a plan ready for them. So I do see some prematurity there in hiring it for this year, and then maybe including him in part of a plan or conversation around when and where that ELA coach comes into play. So that's just sort of my thoughts about that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Just making a note. What's that?
Clarify something.
What do you mean?
So we have 3 full-time nurses, one in each school. Right now we have .4 part-time sub-nurse that someone is currently employed in. And so we do have subs within the district as well, which yes, they're not as reliable as a constant sub, but I think it's a nod to yes, we need more coverage within the district, but it's not suggesting that we leave schools uncovered.
All right. Any other public comments? All right, on to business items. The first one up is the school calendar. Al, do you want to talk about it at all?
So this is never an easy task, right? We gave it to you a couple of times to be looking. I think you've had it for a little over a month now to be looking at it. We gave it a different sort of look at it this way. Jen did some great work in terms of presenting, color coding it, but we've put days in there that match the 180 school days that we have to provide for our students, as well as adding the professional learning days that we have in place for our teachers with their contract as well too. I know that one of the comments that came up, public comment, was about that non-school day that would be on March next year, 26th. March 26th. That's a non-school day. Please, I hope you saw what's going on in the news in many districts across our state, as well as across the country. The school districts had to close because the amount of the teachers that weren't available on those days. It was all over the news. We were just sort of being preemptive on that. If we're not taking it off because it is Good Friday, we're just calling it a non-school day because concerned about staffing. We heard last year from Rich and Lisa how many teachers are out on those days, and students as well too. And having a half day makes it even more difficult to find subs for that timing as well. So other than that, the calendar is as it is. Certainly entertain questions. We all worked on this together. Certainly give comments as well too.
Is that why you do a full day off and the day before Thanksgiving? You just said it's really hard to find subs for half days because people travel.
That's right.
Yeah, I received a couple emails and texts about the calendar, people saying that they would rather have a half day the day before Thanksgiving and a half day on March 26th. I'm just relaying the messages.
Sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead, Jess.
I'm curious, so 2 years ago, we had 10 half-days in light of information that many half-days allows more connection with teachers. And so we got a lot of feedback that was very difficult for parents, working parents, because you could not truly utilize that day. And so then this year, we combined those and moved those to the beginning or the end of the week. So I'm curious why we're now shifting back into the middle of the week with those days.
Yeah, so a couple of things. We went from one end to the other, right, with half days. We realized that we don't have enough time for those professional learning days, so we're moving it back, right? So the half days, when you have a half day, they still count for a day for students, but we're also able to be very strategic. We'll use that word with our strategic plan about what the professional learning is going to look like, right? Mapping that all out. Lisa, myself, and Brent are already working to figure out exactly what that's going to look like for those days. But we were really careful about where we're putting them for families, so it's not all over the place as well, too. Again, we'll take comments on this, but we were really, it's a tough thing to do is create a calendar.
Yeah, I just, well, like, looking at
Give me
September, there's a Thursday one.
Yeah.
October, another Thursday one. November, there's a Tuesday and a Thursday, then a holiday Wednesday. So I just, like, as a working parent, I appreciated that those days were moved to the end or the beginning of the week to utilize that as one of my big days and take my family somewhere, or, you know, so in the middle of the week is hard.
Sure. The November date, I just remind everyone that we're starting to use our schools. We agreed for that in Berlin. They're going to start using our schools for polling, right? And I've actually even engaged in conversation with Wolston, looking at that as well too, possibility. So that's why we're now, which a lot of school districts do, we will be doing all our professional learning, so students will not be in the buildings when voting's taking place.
And Veterans Day is a Wednesday this year, so that's not our
That's
fault.
it, yeah.
Indeed.
But I mean, like, sometimes we stack things like up into, like if it's on like a Tuesday, you can do the professional, like, it's bad, it's a badly timed calendar between starting so early, because it's the earliest you're gonna, it's just, the way the calendar fell this year is not
But I guess I don't know, like, so why is the 24th chosen, not the 25th, or why is
What
it?
month are you looking at?
So September, like, why is that a Thursday? In October, why is that a Thursday? And
You could also move the 5th, the early release for the conferences. You could move that to the 10th or the 2nd. I know a few people a few teachers, I believe, spoke to that. I get that we can't move the PD, and I don't think everybody got that or appreciated that Berlin is now polling, and we wanted to do a PD on that day. So, but you could, if you wanted to, you know, I don't know if November 2nd is too early for conferences, you can move it to the 10th. The Wednesday, the 10th, November.
So November 2nd or the 10th from the 5th.
Yeah.
I lost you for a second, so talk to me about the month of November. Is that what you're looking at?
So the 5th, it's a Thursday, right? So that week, I get what Jess is saying, for working parents, that week, the first week in November, they have a full day off on the 3rd, and I get why, and then it's a half day on that Thursday, right? So some families, if it was pushed together, might be like, hey, we're gonna take a long weekend and go away. But this doesn't allow you to do that, and it just is kind of difficult for people that work, or like families that have
But do you
two
want them
parents
to
that
go
work.
away for conferences?
I think some people do.
I think, but if you were going to move it, I would move it to the 10th, not the
Yeah.
2nd, because then no one's going to go to conferences.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking more of the other Thursdays.
And you're saying move the Thursdays to Fridays instead?
So the only thing I'm going to say to you, once again, going back to what Beth said earlier, and I appreciate parent comments, right, on the Good Fridays and the half days and Thanksgiving. A lot of time put into a planning committee by this group right here that went by month, day by day, trying to get a calendar. I really was hoping that we'd have feedback from you guys earlier so that we could have made some adjustments, so we could have came today to get a calendar voted on. That's the reason why we gave it to you over a month ago. But I just know we put a lot of time and really thoughtful about these calendars, and they're all looking at me smiling because they know how much work we put into this calendar. Right? So if there's something very specific you want us to look at, but just going all over the place right now, it's just making it difficult for us. So just give me an exact thing you want us to look at.
Al, I know we've heard from some teachers about this tonight, but did you pass this by the heads of the union?
That's right, it went to the union. Yep, and the union gets input. They don't get to make a final decision on it, but they can give us input on this.
What was their input?
So, similar to about the Good Friday and the day before Thanksgiving. Those are the two.
I wasn't sold on the Good Friday thing last year, but after seeing the news articles that came out, I fully am on board with the reasoning behind that.
And I know I got a little bit of concern from people, so I'm calling it a non-school day, right? That day.
That happens to be on Good Friday.
That happens to be a Good Friday, yes.
Also, not for nothing, it's literally the flu. I mean, it worked out great for us because we had the flu.
Yeah.
But I feel like that time, everyone is so sick, and I guess I love having that long little break because it'll be a nice little break for all the germs to kind of.
Sure.
I don't know. Sorry to interrupt, Mike.
No, that's all right. No, that's a good point. We dealt with the same thing. Al, I got stopped by some teachers, to be honest, when I was at the school the other day at BMS, because we still have not put air conditioners in there. Some of them agree with me.
Are we doing a Labor Day thing?
That we don't want to start before Labor Day. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that. It's gonna be ungodly hot at
pretty hot.
BMS.
It's
Yeah.
You want to
It's-
be in school on June 30th, right? It's the question.
June 23rd, yes. June 23rd is our last day, and I was
What's
very.
the last day?
June 23rd.
No, I mean, that, on this calendar.
The 14th.
So if you added, how many days would you have to add? That is actually, the end of August is brutal though.
I know.
They didn't just pick random days. They
Then
picked the
make some of
days
these-
based on a lot of information.
Listen, June 23rd is gonna be, could be warm this year as well too, right? So June's a tough month as well. We're already going deep into June this year, and we were
Sometimes
really.
it's hot in October.
What's that?
Sometimes it's hot in October.
That's right.
But usually it's brutal at the end of August because it's been so hot all summer. At least in June, it's not as warm in those rooms because it's been cool
Do you think
outside.
3 days is going to cool
It
off?
depends. I don't know. I forgot about that because I know it is brutal. We did a tour in September up there and it was almost unbearable.
So.
You have to make some more
we-
half days
we-
in this and then, I don't know.
We can't predict the weather, because if we could make predictions like that, we'd all be playing the lottery right now, right? So we can't, but I'm giving you a calendar. If you want us to revisit it, it's not fair to parents, it's April. Like, people need to make
Yeah,
plans.
I'm being asked when the first day of
It's-
school
we
is.
need to
Like
let-
that's,
we need to let
people need to
parents
know
know,
when the first
like,
day
in
of school
terms
is.
of when vacations. Not only that, but I'm gonna tell you, you go deep into June, I'm really concerned about that week this year in June, because summer camps start. So if a parent's gonna need to be, that week in June, they're gonna be
See who
out.
comes back after Juneteenth.
I know.
So there's a whole another issue that you're on the other end of who's going to show up for the last few days of school.
All right, so I propose November 5th to the 10th.
November 5th.
Early release conferences moved to the 10th, before the holiday,
Okay.
the 11th. That is what I propose.
Can you go back to August too?
So
when-
you're taking November 5th.
Sorry, Jess, did I interrupt you?
Yeah, November 5th, wait a minute, so November 5th, you want to change that to November 10th?
We would have to have a motion for
Would
that.
that work?
I'm just throwing it out, just to see if the people tar and feather me before I make a motion.
I think as long as there's not a very specific reason why that's not, that's, if it's like, well, it's already contracted with the union that it has to be on like a Thursday or something
No.
like that, then.
We can make that move. I'm going to ask Lisa and Jen. That seem okay?
Hold on. That is the second Tuesday of the month.
Yeah.
School committee generally meets on the second Tuesday of the month. School committee is full of a bunch of parents who might want to attend conferences.
Maybe that's why we didn't do Tuesdays. I think that's the exact reason why we didn't do Tuesdays.
We can have a meeting on the 3rd, I mean.
Oh, we could.
We're very busy voting.
What's that?
Just kidding. So I'm going to be very busy voting.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the school committee calendar yet, do we?
No.
So
No, we
just
can
meet
wait
on
for
the
this.
3rd.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm indifferent. I thought somebody from the union rep spoke about that, so I thought that the union wanted that, but if they, I'm indifferent on that. I don't.
That date actually will be the first school committee meeting with the election. We wouldn't have a school committee meeting
Oh,
on the
you
3rd.
wouldn't want to have it
because
Correct,
it is
we
the
can't, it's the election day.
Yeah.
Right.
We'd have to have it the 10th.
Yeah, and that will be the first meeting with the new members, whoever they are.
Right.
So
We
we
have
want to leave it on the
meet
5th?
We can meet on the 10th or the 17th.
Or you asked for the 4 p.m. slot, I don't know, like.
I mean, I'm fine with doing an earlier slot, but I don't know about other people here. Lisa, that doesn't apply to you. It would apply to you.
Think of how many people might wander in and listen.
True, because there would be conferences going on here.
I appreciate, like, it's just, we're looking for all of our parents, right, and all of our teachers to, so do you want to move it to the 10th?
Well, it would work for us, right? But what if we need an administrator there at the meeting? They got to be at the school for conferences, right?
Yeah. They'll be in their buildings.
You could move the conferences to the 2nd. And yeah, to Beth's point, people are
Not
gonna.
necessarily, I mean, they're gonna come and vote too.
I personally feel like the experts have spent a lot of time.
It's okay.
We really
Halloween
have. We
weekend.
really have. We really
All
have.
right, just leave it. I mean, I don't know.
But why the Thursdays in the middle of the week again, like for September and October? I don't get that. Like we swung
not-
from everything on Wednesday
Why isn't it,
to
why
everything
why
on
isn't it on
Friday.
Friday? Just curious, I'm just throwing it out there, instead of moving it to the 2nd or the 10th or,
Are we talking about November still?
yeah, why wouldn't we, could we move that to Friday?
For,
Oh, great idea, Jackie.
The 5th to the 6th.
Yeah.
We've done that stuff, I think in the past, at least a few years ago, we had gotten away from PD days and stuff like that on Fridays because it was an easy way for people
So a Friday night conference?
to just.
Okay, on a Thursday, strike it. Move on, vote, go.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Someone doesn't want to be a conference.
tired.
Seriously. And not only that,
My
but
day started at like 5 a.m. I was just here for the calendar. I gotta go. I'm so tired. My dog's missing me. Like, this is sad. Just gotta move it along.
Okay, can I have a motion, please, to approve the calendar as is?
please.
Sure.
Beth?
Second.
Lisa, second.
Okay.
Anyone feel free to make an amendment, but otherwise we're gonna vote.
Mike, you are fine with starting?
I just said.
He didn't make an amendment.
Yeah. We will never start after
He's not
starting
shy.
after
He'll
Labor
make the
Day.
amendment if he
We'll
wants
bring
to.
you way deep into June, deep into June.
No, you have to turn.
Does anybody want to make an amendment
Yeah,
to
if
the
someone
calendar?
hypothetically made an amendment to move the September 24th and the October 22nd to the following Friday, the day after that, would that be offensive to people?
Say that again.
So September 24th,
Yep.
move to the 25th. And then October 22nd, move to the 23rd.
We generally talked about not doing those on Fridays, didn't we, and Mondays?
But that's what we did this year.
Did we?
They were not in the middle of the week.
So we're also talking about professional development days, right? So making sure that all of our teachers are there on those days as well too. Fridays are a lot of times people are
They need to teach on that Friday too.
But if it's-
Celebration of Learning was on Friday.
Right.
no, the green days of PD, there's no school days. The green calendar days are.
Yeah,
I think we had a Wednesday we only had 3, and I think there was one
Jess, do you
Wednesday,
have
one
a-
Is
Friday.
there a motion? Would you like?
I would not like to make an offensive motion.
No, we're not offended. No
So
one's
if
offended.
you have PD already scheduled for those days, I will not make the motion. But if it is not offensive to all involved, then I will make the motion.
Jen's shaking her head, she's offended. It's
Give her a
not-
head.
So I will
We need to
say,
buy
that,
Jen's candy.
sometimes it is easier when professional development falls on a Monday or a Friday. It's easier to feel as though it's not mandatory.
You can call in sick.
That's right.
We had talked about this a couple years ago with Carol.
But I understand that.
Not
But
in
the-
contract.
The teacher contract is not.
She's saying it for a
I
reason.
thought it was.
She's not saying it
No,
if it's not
because
true.
you
So
can just
I'm like,
You can still call in
sick.
sick. Anyone can call in sick.
Nurse practitioner, right? You know, call in sick.
No one cares about the notes I write, so, right? States
Licensed
care.
professionals spent lots of time
We did.
developing this.
We did.
This.
And again, I just want to go back, we gave this to you a long time ago, respectfully, guys, right? So if you
That's
wanted
true.
this feedback, you should have, like, given it to us in time. so we could-
Jess, amendment or no?
We're not offended. I appreciate your feedback.
I'm offended. No.
All those in favor of the motion on the table?
Aye.
Anyone against? I'm of course against this, but the motion passes 5-1.
You should have voted against us.
I did vote
Still.
against it.
I know, I said she should have.
All right, the motion passes 5-1. Calendar is set. First day of school is in the sweltering dog days of summer.
August
on
26th.
August.
Stop.
24th.
Yes.
No, that's the opening day,
No,
right?
it's the
First day.
26th.
Yeah. That's the opening day for teachers.
I have a question. Isn't the primary on September 1st, does that mean that that needs to be closed as well?
We talked about that, the
I think
primary
there's-
election with the town.
is low attendance, so they are just going to close the door, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Then you
They're gonna
can't do
lock the
gym.
door
You can't do
to the
PE that
gym.
day.
And we thought September, they can take them outside.
They can go outside, yeah.
It's sweltering hot, they're gonna wanna get out of the building, Megan, and go outside, so.
Next time, get Apple to pay for air conditioning, okay?
I know.
Hey, that comes out this month.
Let us know when you.
The trailers are, yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh, yes, there was, the trailer was out.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Scary.
didn't-
Yeah.
It was
Really?
scary,
The town
yes.
halls and- yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's 100% the
All
tree, I
right,
forgot.
so next
Okay.
business item
Let's
is,
go.
next business item is program of studies.
All right.
Widow Bay.
Getting that out.
Rich, you want to talk?
Widow Bay, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, so in
I'll
short,
send it to
there's 6 documents in there. There's one that has all the revisions, so you can literally look at every single comment of why anything was changed. So hopefully you guys find that helpful. I did include a 1-pager that just has all the new proposals that we have on there, and some of those courses are designed based off student choice. We pull our juniors and other classes in terms of really looking to,
Which one do you want me to open up, Jeff?
if you want to go to the proposals, please.
Got it. Thank you.
So these are the new additions, and as we talk about looking towards creating pathways for the future, we're looking to be very purposeful with our electives, and business was our highest ask for all of our students in terms of what they wanted to do for their future. If they were looking towards, if they were going to decide like what their major would be right now, that was 17 out of our 70 kids said that they would take that path, so we built in 3 new business classes to encourage that and build in those opportunities, as well as we try to create tracks here at Tohoto. Other classes that we've offered here are some additional electives that help with the humanity pieces, supplementing in terms of public speaking, create other opportunities that we have here. For the middle school, I think the only elective here is just we're building in a tier 2. We have a reading version of this intensive math, intensive support. This is the math version. So making sure that we're offering for both reading and math at the middle school level. If you want, you can also look at what's going to be removed, if you want to pull the removal up. This does indicate the why. If you took a look at the revisions, but in short, nature of being, we have Steve Pacheco, who is retiring. He had offered this for a number of years. We've talked a lot, how do we replace something of this magnitude? We're kind of looking at like our World Travelers Club to help meet some of these additional pieces. European history, AP, really is just turning into AP World. So it's evolving, so it's not really a switch, but more of a tailor throw. For these middle school pieces as of here, this is things that we're just not offering currently, due to the loss of the world language piece, and that's just a course we haven't run for a number of years, so it'll be on the back burner for a while.
And what community languages come back in now?
That's an ongoing conversation. We are looking to, obviously, if you look at the research, building and languaging at the elementary school is where that you get your best bang for buck, right? So that's a bigger topic that we have to talk about. It's not a graduation requirement for us here at Tohoto. That's why it is what it is. So unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast with where we're at.
What do we have currently at the high school?
So as of right now, we do offer tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4 for foreign language in both French and Spanish.
So wait, you said language is not a graduation requirement at Tohoto, but it is a requirement for many
It's
colleges.
recommended for 2 years.
2
It
years.
says it right in there. They recommend 2 years, but it's not required for
Correct, 2
graduation.
years consecutively if you're looking at a 4-year college. So our guidance counselors work with our students in scheduling that. So if that is their pathway that they're looking for, to make sure that they're receiving those.
Not to graduate from high school, but most colleges are looking for 2 years.
Yeah. I'm curious, I know that, I think we have access to some college classes as well. Do kids have that ability to do for languages too?
So we do. We utilize EduSeer if there's any outliers. Obviously, the primary goal is to make sure that we have an actual live teacher in front of our kids. But if it does not align with the schedule whatsoever, and this is, based on a couple different circumstances, we have utilized online to support.
And we also have to just be careful with the union, right? So we can't be subletting jobs out, so we have to take that
It's
off.
for like true conflicts. Like my daughter was offered, you could either take French 3 online or history online. And I was like, we're not taking a foreign language online.
It is difficult.
It's hard, but it's an option for true conflicts and scheduling.
In terms of the college classes, sorry, I'm going off in a tangent, but evening classes, college classes, do kids have access to that later on in their school?
We don't promote.
Right, so, do you want?
Go ahead, please.
Kids, we encourage students to engage in anything that they're passionate about. it doesn't supplant credits for us. But it looks beautiful on their resume. So if they put, on their college application, they love a foreign language so much that they exceed what is offered here and to go off campus on their own time, that shows initiative. That's actually something special to write about for college. So we absolutely encourage that and think it's fabulous. We just can't count it on our transcript.
Just many of our kids do nightlife, Alphabet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It is jam-packed with high school kids, not just from our community,
Oh,
but
interesting.
all others that are full walking around taking those courses at night, giving them an opportunity. And Aspen comes and does, was it 8th grade they came? What grade were they came and did a presentation in Aspen for?
Yeah, 8th grade.
8th grade.
Just wanted to say that program of studies, if you're ever interested, each graduating class has an Instagram page where it's like what schools everyone's committing to and what their majors are. And this is a reflection of, if you go on that one for this 2026, you will see business, Eisenberg School. You'll see that business is, you get a really good feel for what the kids are looking for.
When we come at the next meeting, we're going to present to you where some of our kids get accepted into college.
Some
and universities.
impressive places.
It is unbelievable the places our
Yes.
kids. If you ever want to think about the work we're doing here, the kids walking across the stage and where they're going off to.
Well, it speaks volumes of the educators
Absolutely.
and the education they're given.
Absolutely. I mean, we got kids looking at unbelievable schools that are making choices right now.
But you should definitely look at the page. It's really fun to see where everyone's going and what they're majoring in.
I know just from the kids I've talked to, like decisions they're making, talking to Matthew Dow, like his choices, like, are you kidding me that they're trying to decide in? I'm talking to I get the lead kids confused, the one that's a senior. Brendan got accepted to the Eisenberg program at UMass. That is the most competitive business school in the entire country right now. And, not only at state school prices, but, being at that level, incredible, these kids are getting in. So we'll be talking about that at next school meeting. Not the one Friday next month.
Can I have a motion to approve the program of studies?
So moved.
Beth?
Second.
Lisa? Final thoughts? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, that motion passes. So there's an offer to donate to fix the front sign at Boylston Elementary from Leslie Greenier. The quote that we have in there is for $5,000, and that's what she's committing to donate. So we have to vote to accept that. Could I have a motion, please, to accept the donation to fix the Boylston Elementary front school sign by Leslie Greenier and her family? Jackie?
Second.
Jess? Questions on that?
So very generous.
Thank you.
Offer.
Very-
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very
They're wonderful
sad
people,
sign.
yeah.
Excellent.
We'll get thank you notes out as we always do once the project is complete as well.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? Okay, that motion passes, thank you. The next item there, bingo night. I did get an email just before the meeting tonight that they're not going through with bingo. So that's no need to address that. Boylston Elementary Club reallocation.
Rob, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have several clubs in our budget that are not being used, and we have an arts and crafts person that wants to take monies from one, that wants to run an arts and crafts club, which is one of the things that we wanted to see more of at our school. And there's money in what they call the comic book account, which is not being used right now, so I'd like to transfer, I think it's $1,000 is what I asked us to
This is a memo.
to arts and crafts to make it viable for her to run the program.
We're just doing
for free to the kids.
this the right way for you guys, right? Because you guys, I guess at one point about that comic book club, you guys
Yeah.
allocated money for that.
We approved that, and there must be money in that, yep.
About $1,000.
What grades is that going to be?
She's got 2 sessions. She wants to do 4 sessions for K to 2 and 3, 4, and 5 for 4 sessions. Only 12 kids, so obviously it'll be really hard to get kids in, and that's one of the, so I just wanted, before I sent out anything, I wanted to get that cleared by you guys.
Could I have a motion to authorize the BES Student Activities Treasurer to transfer $1,000 from the Comic Book Club account to the Arts and Crafts Club account?
So moved.
Megan?
Second.
Jess? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? Okay, that motion passes too.
Thank you.
School choice, we already voted. And the Boylston Elementary donation from Ahold Delhaize.
Do you want me to talk to that?
Do you have information about that?
So I think it probably was a PTO, or they thought it was, Mrs. Hatem thought it was a BEF thing. The check is made out to the school, so I can't put that in the account for the Boylston Education Collaborative. So Lynn had asked me what to do. I said, you got to take it to school committee and vote, and they can do whatever they want with it. So it's up to, I said Nature's Classroom buses, because I don't think any fundraising was done for Nature's Classroom at BES. I don't know. Okay, so I mean, it's up to, obviously that's your discretion, I'm not making a decision on
That's what I
that.
asked if we could do it, so that.
Oh,
but-
yeah,
But it
all right.
wouldn't be fair to use it, I don't think, Aaron was wondering if it's fair to use it for just this current year. If not, can we just divide it over all the current years so it's equitable?
So just so we're understanding where this money's coming from, I mean, I think it was Jen and I that did some research on it. We got a check, right, that you guys handed to us. It looks like it's from like Stop and Shop. You can allocate some money.
Yeah.
It's underneath that whole.
So what we did, we used to be in charge of just grants, and the PTO did everything else, right? So BEF was a foundation that just did grants. And so what we did is we had people that would go out into the community and they would fundraise. And what happened, my guess is why it's 1,160. So what we do is we get like sponsorships for bingo and for events that we hold. I'm guessing it was like a $1,000 sponsorship that we never cashed. It was from 2021. The check got lost in the mail or something. It's a donation from a company. They probably paid it back with interest or something like that. That's the only thing I can guess. Or maybe it was
At
2
that
years.
same time frame, in Berlin, Hannaford's had a program where you could designate 5% from your sales.
That's what it is.
And this is definitely what this
That's
is.
the Stop and
It's a-
Shop
it's
logo,
a
just so you know,
say-
Jen and I
But you
had
think
to-
BEF did
We
it,
used to
though?
do that, PTO
Yes,
used to.
it was
Sign
when they
up for
stopped
the-
doing like the box tops,
That's right.
Yeah.
they started doing this and
Yeah,
everyone
we
was
still
doing
have,
it.
we still do box tops at BES. We still get, I get like $22 twice a year.
But you didn't even have to sign up for it.
Right.
Like
So-
it was just listed.
So this is money that
$1,100
we can't
to
use.
Boylston.
We think the
They
best
can use
thing
it
to
however
do
they
is
want.
just spread it out amongst all the grades, because we
Whatever.
really don't know what grade should be having it, so Rob will use his discretion and spread it out equally across the grades at Boylston Elementary.
Based on how long each grade has been in the school, like what BMS did, like so the fifth
That's
graders
what
should get the
we
higher
Yes.
percentage and the kindergartners get the smallest percentage.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't know how you did that, John.
Could I have a motion, please, to accept the Boylston Elementary donation from Ahold Delhaize to be applied to Nature's Classroom funding for the current K through 5 grades at BES on a prorated basis?
So I don't think it was gonna go for Nature's Classroom. I think they're gonna just use it through discretion for the grades
Did
as
you
well.
just say
The
Nature's
bus.
Classroom?
I had asked if we could use it because we were so hurting, but the answer was, you probably can't use it for just this year's class. You have to divide it over.
But that portion of fifth grade funds, you can
Prorated
use
for
for
each
Nature's
class, I
Classroom.
said.
Okay.
But for Nature's Classroom or for something
No.
else?
I don't think
Really up to you.
specifically
I mean,
for Nature's Classroom, but he'd
trying
probably
to raise
use it
money,
for
I
the
know we
fifth
are.
All right, nobody second that motion, come on. Can I have a motion, please, to accept the Boylston Elementary donation from Ahold Delhaize to be allocated to the grades K through 5 at Boylston Elementary School on a prorated basis,
To be used as needed.
to be used as needed?
Yeah.
Discretion of the administration.
Thank you.
So
All
moved.
right, Beth, Jess.
Second.
Okay,
You got all that,
or
Jerry?
Jess first. Any other questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? All right, any future agenda, that motion passes, thank you.
Just gonna say.
Any future agenda items?
Future agendas.
Are we gonna talk about the district improvement plan?
Strategic
The
plan?
strategic plan?
What did I call it?
District improvement plan?
Yes.
Strategic plan.
Yes, we can put that on the next agenda. We actually made some good progress with
Okay.
other people in the group, so we can absolutely put that on the agenda for next month.
That will be May 12th.
Yeah, we're, just so you know, we.
Scholarships. Sorry.
That's great. Go.
Ooh,
Scholarships.
yes, I'm sorry, you're right.
May 12th.
Strategic plan, scholarship, and just so you know, we're running a timeframe. We're probably not gonna have you be able to vote on the strategic plan by this end of this year. We're gonna hopefully have it in place during the summer. Brent and I have some appointments already scheduled to visit communities to be able to explain the strategic plan to them. We have to get input from people in the community, both Berlin, Wilson, our senior citizens, as well as our other community members. So we were hoping that by September 1st, we'll have it.
Oh, right,
Didn't we
yeah.
do that though? Didn't?
That was just to get feedback from them. Now, we have to go back and let them see what their feedback looks like in a strategic plan. So we really got to lay it up. It's been heavy lifting. Christine and Lisa and myself and John, and people from the select board and FinCom have been doing, and Lisa Mayer, sorry about that.
Lisa,
Anyone want to jump in on that conversation?
Were you asking about adding scholarships somehow to the strategic plan? Is that what you're-
No,
No.
it's the Moses Reed Scholarship, we have to vote on it.
So we'll definitely put on the next month to be able to give you some updates on that between Lisa, myself, John, and Lisa, and we'll ask Christine to join us as well too.
And I don't know if it's part of it, but, you know, the mention of computers not being a one-to-one district. You know, I know MCAS is at grade 3 and they have to learn to type. That was mentioned at prior school committee meetings, so I don't know if that also can be discussed.
I think it would be nice to see some financials on that to understand how much of a priority it would be, because we have a lot of stuff in the plan. And I think just, you know, with the focus on the financials, I think it'll be an important piece for you guys to understand, here are the things we want to do, but you also have to look at what it's going to cost us, right?
I was talking about eliminating computers, kindergarten, first and second.
No, I know, there's a lot of cost-saving initiatives in the strategic plan. So what I'm saying is like, we could eliminate a one-to-one, but it may not make as big of an impact as something else we're recommending. So I think it would be nice, like, we don't have numbers right now, we don't have hypothetical budget numbers to see how much it would affect, but I think it would be nice to see which ones would make the most impact and how much LOE that's going to take, right? So that we can make a decision on how to prioritize which ones we do.
In every single thing we're putting in that strategic plan, we're holding people accountable. Like, who's accountable? You're going to see a lot of it is school committees, right? That they're holding them accountable to making sure that these things are in place.
Oh, actually, can I have the Boylston Master Plan implementation be an agenda item at the next meeting?
Yeah. Jane, you got that? Boylston Master Plan?
Boylston Master Plan
Strategic plan. What was the other thing someone said? Strategic plan?
The scholarships.
Moses Reed
Scholarships,
Scholarship.
Beth has to, I don't know who's doing that.
I'm doing
If
it.
both, there's 2, right?
Yeah, the other one's passed on to
That
the
one-
board, right?
That one's in June, I think.
We'll have to do that one in June, you're right. I think the early May meeting,
All right.
you might be.
Yeah, I don't
able to
think we'll
do
have
We're
a
saying all
We
this
might not have
next
either.
school meeting, May, we're talking about, so we're just
May
not
12th.
Friday. Yeah, good.
All right, can I have a motion, please, to enter executive session? We may return to public session to vote if needed. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Purpose 2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Director of Finance, Mr. Aaron Osborne.
Second.
Beth and Jess. Lisa?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. We'll enter executive session now. Thank you, everybody. All right, we're reopening the open session of the Berlin Boylston Regional School Committee meeting. Could I have a motion, please, to approve Director of Finance Aaron Osborne's contract?
So moved.
Megan?
Second.
Jackie? Any questions or comments?
Thank you for all your work, Aaron.
Thank you very much. I
appreciate
really
you
appreciate
working
it.
longer with us.
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? All right, the motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks,
May I
Megan.
have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Berlin Boylston Regional School Committee?
So moved.
Megan?
Second.
Lisa? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against?